Steve Stone back along with Joe Torre, and the Cubs will line up this way. Bobby Dernier leading off in center field. Ryne Sandberg hitting second and playing second. Andre Dawson in right field hitting third. And in the cleanup spot, a different lineup. Jody Davis hitting cleanup tonight. Leon Durham will hit fifth and play first base. Keith Moreland playing third and hitting sixth. Brian Dayette in left field hitting seventh. Sean Dunston at shortstop hitting eighth. And Ed Lynch on the mound. As you look at Rick Honeycutt, we'll show you the Dodgers starting lineup. Mariano Duncan leading off and playing shortstop. Kenny Landreau hitting second, playing right field. Bill Madlock at third. Pedro Guerrero in the cleanup spot playing left field. Mike Scioscia behind the plate. Franklin Stubbs at first base hitting sixth. Steve Sachs at second hitting seventh. Mike Ramsey in center field. And Rick Honeycutt on the mound. And the umpires for tonight's game: Dick Stello behind the plate. Eric Gregg at first. Jerry Davis at second. And the veteran Doug Harvey at third. Joe, what do you know about Rick Honeycutt?
Well, Rick Honeycutt is what you call a crafty left-hander, Steve. He's 1-1 this year with a 203 earned run average. He's given up 26 hits in 26 2/3 innings. He's given up 11 runs, 6 of which have been earned. Walked 9, struck out 14. This is his 6th start of the season. He was 1-2 against the Cubs last year, 2-4 lifetime. His first appearance against the Cubs this year.
There you look at the defense for the Dodgers. You have to go all the way back to 1985 to find Rick Honeycutt's last complete game. Last year, he started 28 times, didn't complete any. In his 6th start, he has not completed a game yet. So you don't look for him to go 9 innings, and that's how you can exploit the Dodgers. Get into that bullpen early.
That's the problem. They can't freeze the ball in baseball. You have to get 27 outs, and that's been Lasorda's problems the last couple of years.
Bobby Dernier to lead off the ball game. They play him straight away. Bill Madlock in very close at third, trying to take away the bunt. And a breaking ball for a strike. There you look at Madlock. Had off-season shoulder surgery, and he just does not throw the ball all that well. Yesterday, a couple of throws in the dirt, and we'll see if that becomes a factor tonight. Fouled it off.
And that's what Honeycutt will do to you. He'll tantalize you outside, and right-handers left-handers might have better luck with him than right-handers, because he doesn't throw hard enough to really jam you. And if a hitter makes a pitcher jam him, I think he'll have a better shot. But the right-hander, the ball goes away from him, and you see with Dernier right there, he just hits it off the end of the bat.
Fernando Valenzuela.
There's a left-hand hitter.
Only 2 left-hand pinch hitters on the bench for Tom Lasorda. The appeal to first base. No, says Eric Gregg.
I thought Eric was going to fly away right there.
Ralph Bryant came up. He hit very poorly in AAA, and he's a left-handed pinch hitter. But if they get in a spot, Tommy Lasorda will not hesitate to use Fernando Valenzuela. There you look at Tommy. His license plate says, "Honk if you have any groceries." Bill Russell to his right. Breaking ball misses down, and the count evens at 2-2. Joe, over 2,500 hits in your career. Would you rather face a Rick Honeycutt type pitcher or a guy who really rushes it up there?
Depending if you felt good at the plate at the time. If you felt good at the plate, you didn't mind a Honeycutt. If you were trying to struggle to get back.
Right at Madlock. The throw is low, but Franklin Stubbs picks it out of the dirt, and Bobby Dernier is retired.
If you were trying to struggle to get back on tune, then you'd have a problem with Honeycutt, because he really doesn't throw hard enough to try to time. Well, this is what you were talking about, Steve. Madlock had the surgery in the offseason. He can still hit, but when it comes time to getting the ball across the infield, he has to wish it over there. You can see that. He just tried to guide it over, and he's hurting.
Good play by Stubbs. There you look at Bill Madlock. 4-time National League batting champion. There's no doubt he can still hit. Ryne Sandberg, who's had very good success with Rick Honeycutt over the years, hitting .287. And he takes a fastball down. I always thought the pitchers had a good shot at hitting a pitcher like Honeycutt, because you know he can't jam you, and you're not going to overswing, and you get a good shot at hitting the ball to right field if you allow yourself to take it that way.
Well, that's it. If you could make yourself hit the ball to right field, make yourself wait, you'll have much more success. I know my first year in the big leagues, I hit better against right-handers than I did against left-handers, because I just felt I could pull the left-hander, and the right-hander I just tried to hit through the middle.
2-0 count on Rhino. And Honeycutt misses again. Ryne Sandberg taking a look down to John Vukovich to see if he's got the go-ahead. You don't usually see it early in the ball game, especially with Dawson and Davis due up next. You figure he's going to make Honeycutt throw at least one strike and then try to take advantage of that 3-1 pitch.
Well, plus I think in Wrigley Field is a little different philosophy than Dodger Stadium. 3-0, you're looking home run, and this ballpark really isn't conducive to home runs.
The Cubs have only hit one home run lifetime against Honeycutt, and that's Sandberg. And he walks him. So Rhino aboard. And Joe, evaluate these two swings.
Well, one is a little thinner than the other guy, but watch the similarities. The shoulder tucked in, stepping on eggs in the front, and the same type of level swing. I mean, an uppercut type swing. But it really doesn't matter how you approach the ball. It's when you get in hitting position, everything seems very similar. And those two fellows are having pretty good years so far.
And Dawson has always hit the Dodgers 300 lifetime yesterday, 3 for 5 with 3 RBIs, including his 11th home run of the year. 33 RBIs for Dawson, and you see the running stats on Sandberg. Breaking ball catches the inside corner. How about this time of night to hit, Joe? You think it's a little more difficult at dusk than it is when the lights take over later on?
Very definitely, and the outfielders will have problems. The infielders have to help the outfielders now by pointing to which outfielder it's going to, because until it gets dark, it's going to be difficult for the outfielders.
Quick throw to first, Sandberg back. Now Rhino's been leading off the last few nights, but with Bobby Dernier in the lineup, Sandberg hitting second. Eventually, Gene Michael entertains the idea of moving David Martinez up into the first spot. That'll allow Sandberg to drive in runs. He's got the potential to drive in 80, but if you're a leadoff hitter, you're going to have to steal a lot of bases because you're not going to knock in too many big runs. Throw back to first once again. Joe, why do you think they're calling so many balks this year?
I don't know, and it's only in the National League. I've been working with the Angels, and I don't see many balks in the American League. I remember about 10 years ago they decided to call some balks on not stopping, and from what you tell me, that's what they're doing this year also. I think it's just umpires telling people, just, we're watching you.
Good fastball inside. Dawson in a hole, 0-2. Probably Honeycutt's best year was 1983. He started at Texas, dominated the American League, was 14-8 with a fine 2.42 ERA, won the ERA championship in 1983, then came over to the Dodgers where he went 2-3 with a 5.77 earned run average. Put together a 10-9 year in 84, an 8-12 year in 85, and 11-9 last year with a pretty good 3.32 earned run average. A good slider low and in, and Dawson goes down on strike.
Number 7, catcher Jody Davis.
That'll bring up Jody Davis, hitting 309, 8 home runs, 17 RBIs.
This
Jody hitting cleanup.
He has made himself a good player. I managed him in spring training when I was managing the Mets, and he just wanted to work time after time after time, and he just made himself a good player. He went from the Mets to St. Louis and all of a sudden found himself a home in Chicago.
What he's doing now is taking the ball to right and right center. And you know, when you do that over a prolonged period, it gets around. All of a sudden you start seeing the ball inside, and that's the ball you take out of the park. Short lead at first by Sandberg. Honeycutt's got a pretty quick move. Joe, now you hit standing right on top of the plate, daring the pitcher to come inside. Do you think that's the best way to hit?
Well, it was for me. They tried to jam me, and if I was away from the plate, I felt they had a better chance of it because I dove into the ball all the time. And I stood even with the plate. As you see, Jody is back in the batter's box. I stood even with the plate.
Fastball misses down. Now, I hit you in 1971 in the shoulder. I just don't know if it's healed yet because I threw pretty hard in those days. And are you still sore or anything like that?
Well, it really has been giving me a problem, especially in the damp weather. But it'll come around, I'm sure, any time now.
But your buddy Bob Gibson whistled one over my head after I hit you, so I never threw at you again.
As we were talking about, Jody's deep in the batter's box. I had trouble hitting back there. I couldn't get to the breaking ball.
Quick throw to first once again. I think what Rick is probably doing is stalling, so the Cubs have to hit in the dusk, and when the Dodgers finally come to bat, it's going to be dark, and they're going to have an advantage in the first inning against Eddie Lynch. Outfield straightaway, very deep for Jody Davis. Good breaking ball for a strike. Jody has 3 home runs on the road trip and a .290 lifetime average in Dodger Stadium.
I know another stadium he likes to hit in too, and that's Atlanta.
Oh, he terrorized those guys.
He used to eat us up.
You pretty much have to guess with a left-hander on the mound. It looks to me like they're going to take an opportunity to try to run Sandberg. Mike Scioscia has a fairly good arm, but he has a slow delivery. You can get a couple extra steps, and if you guess on the lefty, you might be able to get 2 steps before he even delivers the ball. Runner going. Throw to second. No chance.
Well, the one thing to look for with the left-hander is if that front leg goes behind the rubber, and on that particular pitch, it did go behind the rubber, and once he does that, he cannot throw to first base.
Rhino 8 for 8.
And we'll take a look right here. You can see that right foot comes behind the rubber, and once that leg comes back there, he cannot go to first base, and Sandberg picked up on it and easily into second base.
Good jump by Rhino.
What a good player he is.
He's got a chance to be the best there ever has been at any one position at second base. He is just everything you could ask for in a ball player. Hit for power, hit for average, great defensively, and a real solid base runner. 1-2 count on Jody Davis. Breaks his bat down the line right at Madlock. The long throw, and he gets him. So the Cubs out of the first inning. We head into the bottom of the first. The Dodgers coming to bat. Steve Stone back along with Joe Torre, Ed Lynch taking his warm-up tosses. And Joe, what do you have on Ed Lynch?
Well, Eddie Lynch came over from the Mets last year. Last year he had a 7-5 record with the Cubs. This year he is 1-2. He's making his 4th start of the season. He has a .338 earned run average. He's given up 30 hits in 29 1/3 innings, 16 runs, 12 walks, 18 strikeouts, and this is his second appearance, first start but second appearance against the Dodgers this year. He's 1-0 at 86 and 4-2 lifetime with a .359 earned run average.
There you look at the numbers on Ed Lynch.
And he's a competitor. Again, you look at him, he's not impressive with the kind of stuff he brings to the mound, but he has the ability to win. And I know Bob Gibson was my pitching coach in New York, and he liked Ed Lynch very much, and you hit on a reason why before the game.
Good man on the mound, good man to have on the ball club because of his competitive nature. And he'll have to watch the bunt from Mariano Duncan. Keith Moreland in close at third base. Duncan likes to bunt, and he's very fast. Durham even with the bag at first. And there's the bunt, but he makes no contact. Joe Torre broadcasts the California Angels baseball games on our sister station, KTLA in Los Angeles. His partner's Bob Starr, and he's going to be with us on Sunday in Houston. Breaking ball misses low and away.
You'll have my burly partner right alongside.
Jack Rosenberg, our sports editor, felt that Bob Starr will be pretty comfortable to work with. I know you said he's pretty easy for you to work with.
He's great.
Fastball misses up and away. Duncan with 3 home runs, 9 RBIs. He is no longer a switch hitter, so he's generating a little more power than he did last year. Left-handed, he would just slap at the ball and try to run. Now he can hit the ball with authority. Off-speed breaking ball and no contact by Duncan.
That's one thing Ed Lynch does very well. He changes speeds. He'll sneak by you with a fastball once in a while when you're looking for the off-speed. Plus, again, he'll pitch inside. He'll throw one under your lips every now and then.
Curveball misses, and the count goes full. Kenny Landreau on deck. There you look at Tommy cheering on his ball club, the goodwill ambassador from the West. Down the line, Keith Moreland knocks it down but can't make a play. That'll go as a base hit.
Error 5.
Wow. Well, they charge an error on this high breaking ball. Duncan hits the ball hard, and if Moreland makes this play, it's a great play, especially going away from first base and having to try to throw out the speedy Duncan. And they didn't hesitate. They gave him an E5, which surprises me. That was it would have been a great play. I'm not too sure he would have thrown him out even if he catches the ball.
Well, to editorialize just a bit, that was a terrible call. That's a tough error for Keith Moreland. And I think you're right. Even if he knocks it down, I don't think he can get him. But in any case, Kenny Landreau looking out at Ed Lynch, hitting .220 with a home run and 3 RBIs. Kenny hit a solo home run in the 9th inning to make it 6-2 last night. And Bill Madlock followed with a solo job that cut the lead to 6-3. But Lee Smith came on for his 10th save, and he wrapped it up. And now they're going to change it to a base hit. I think they heard us, Joe.
That's the second erase job I've done. It's only the first inning.
Good breaking ball for a strike. Landreau in a hole, 0-2. Now, this is the pitch that a lot of teams like to run because you figure the pitcher's going to waste one, usually down. You can see 6 out of 7 for Duncan. He's a very good base runner. Looks like Apocalypse Now.
Love the smell of napalm in the morning.
Good line, wasn't it?
Great line.
1-2 count. Kenny Landreau platooning in right field with Mickey Hatcher. Right back up the middle. Going to fall in center field for a base hit. Mariano Duncan around second all the way to third. And Eddie Lynch in a jam in the first inning. That's going to bring up Bill Madlock, one of the finest guest hitters in the game. A couple of home runs and 5 RBIs, hitting .267. The Dodgers 10th in the league in hitting. The Cubs occupying the 8th spot in the league offensively, but the Dodgers #1 in pitching, and that's become a familiar refrain over the years. That's one of the reasons why they're 3 games over 500, and one of the reasons why Tommy Lasorda figures this team's going to be there at the end, because they can throw a good starter at you every day.
Well, the problem has not been starting pitching. Their bullpen has been the problem. And without somebody to finish those games, Steve, it's awfully difficult to win them.
And Joe, do you keep the infield back and go for 2 here, try to stay out of the big inning?
Oh, yes. Early in the game, you want to stay away from the big inning, and Madlock is such a good hitter. I mean, you bring the infield up in this situation, and you're making him 40 or 50 points better hitter.
Not much success against Eddie Lynch. And Lynch looking for the ground ball. Madlock 1 for 4 last night with that solo homer in the 9th. You know, he's the type of hitter, Joe, if you get him in a certain spot the first couple times up, he's going to go up looking for a ball in that spot, and he's going to take you downtown. Yesterday, they tried to jam him all night. And then when Sanderson came inside in the 9th, he hit it out of the ballpark.
Well, I find that Madlock will look for the pitch. As you look at Joey Amalfitano flashing the signs, he'll look for a pitch every once in a while to pull. He reminds me a lot of Bill Buckner from the other side of the plate, who will look for a pitch to pull every once in a while. Otherwise, he's going to go through the middle with you.
Popped up. Sandberg going out. Andre Dawson calling for it. It's not deep enough to tag. And you're not going to run on this arm. Mariano Duncan gave him the courtesy run, but he wasn't going anywhere.
Well, this was a big out for Ed Lynch. You say Madlock's going to go through the middle. He got away with a high breaking ball. He really did dodge a bullet, as you've seen Dernier, but Dawson will come into the picture on the right-hand side and get in position and hold Duncan at third base. I dare you, he's saying.
That'll bring up the most dangerous man in the order for the Dodgers, Pedro Guerrero. 8 home runs, 28 RBIs, and that big .355 batting average you're looking at. Guerrero's hit .316 lifetime against the Cubs. Cub infield halfway looking for 2. And the fastball misses down. I remember Earl Weaver telling me after I'd given up a couple of hits, had 2 men on in the inning, he goes, I don't care if they score. Stay out of the big inning, keep us in the ball game, and we'll come back and get you. And I think Gene Michael has the same philosophy with his infield back.
Well, you teach that as a manager. Get away from the big inning early.
Fly ball right field. Andre Dawson in position. Here comes the throw, and here comes Duncan. Safe at the plate. Good throw, but it was up the line, and it goes to the sacrifice fly. RBI number 29 for Pedro Guerrero. And on the play, Kenny Landreau moves into second.
Well, it's a good hitter. He earns his money by knocking in runs. Takes the pitch inside out. Watch Dawson get in position. Want to get behind the ball, get a running start, and makes a good throw, except it's up the line a little bit. Anybody but Duncan, it would have been a collision at home plate. Now, you want to be on the move towards your target, and that's what Dawson was. Strong throw. But Duncan's speed was a little bit too much.
That'll bring up Mike Scioscia, who Tommy Lasorda thinks is the most valuable player on this ball club because of his ability to handle the pitching staff. Scioscia's always hit well against the Cubs, hitting upwards of 350 against them. And he's a good contact hitter. Likes to go back up the middle, pulls the off-speed pitch, but you have to play him straight away because he uses the whole field. You know, he's one of the few guys who have come back effectively from a rotator cuff injury. He had a very bad one, and the fact that he's throwing the ball as well as he is remarkable.
Well, they found something in spring training that was hurting his throwing, and that he was just like pitching. He was closing up, throwing to second base instead of stepping toward your target, and that was a problem for him. He seems to be throwing a little bit better.
Checks his swing and takes one up high. Three home runs, 12 RBIs. You don't consider him a home run hitter. He will take the ball up the gaps, and Kenny Landreau with a good lead at second. Good off-speed pitch. Evens the count at 1-1.
And what Ed Lynch would like to do right now is just close the inning out, give up 1 run, and go back to the dugout and feel that he has done a good job after the way it started.
Just missing high and in. Mike Scioscia hit .251 last year for the Dodgers. 5 home runs, only 26 RBIs. So he's well ahead of the pace he set last year. You take a good look at him, 6'2", 220 pounds, and does not mind a collision at the plate. One of the toughest in the game. You know, I think Mike looks for collisions at the plate. I think that makes his day.
Looks for a wall to run into in practice.
3-1 count. Lynch very careful with the left-handed Scioscia. Although he's got Franklin Stubbs in the on-deck circle, and you don't get much relief there. Stubbs has hit 7 home runs this year. Missing outside, and Scioscia's aboard.
Well, if pitching careful is what Lynch wanted to do, I don't agree with his philosophy, because we're talking about staying out of the big inning, and you have the home run threat with Stubbs right now.
Stubbs a lifetime .233 hitter against the Cubs. He's hitting much better, and he's been the project of Manny Mota. Franklin wanted to hit every pitch out of the ballpark. Mota said, you can't do that. You've got to take the ball up the middle. And so Stubbs now becoming much more of a situational hitter. And Lasorda said the same thing happened with Greg Brock. Didn't matter what the situation is. If he needed a run with a man on third base, he'd try to hit a home run. And he wants his hitters to hit in situations, cut down their stroke when they have to, and go back up the middle.
Of course, Greg Brock was a different story, though, Steve. He came and was supposed to take Steve Garvey's place. And that's tough for anybody to do. And he's started out very well in Milwaukee. As you look at the 2 skippers, and now Stubbs, all of a sudden, once removed from Steve Garvey, seems to be setting himself at his position.
Well, there was a derby at first base. They had everybody vying for the position. With Steve Garvey still here in his last year, they had Franklin Stubbs and Sid Bream, and they had Greg Brock. Mike Marshall had played first base, and so Stubbs won out. And he's starting to be a good-looking hitter. 2-1 count on Franklin. There you take a look at him. Stubbs hit only .226 last year, but he did hit 23 home runs to go with 58 RBIs. Outfield very deep. Dodgers with 2 on, 2 out. And the breaking ball catches the inside corner. What are you looking for right here if you're Franklin Stubbs, Joe?
If I'm Franklin Stubbs, I'm looking for something off speed off Ed Lynch. Because I hit backwards anyway. I looked for something that would make me wait back the longest and hope my hands were quick enough to put the ball in play.
Fouled straight back. You know, that's interesting because most batting coaches will tell you, take the pitcher's fastest pitch and adjust on down. And you say just the opposite. You adjusted up looking for the breaking ball. And you probably got it when the pitcher was behind quite a bit.
It helped me. I did situation hitting. And, of course, with a Lynch, even though he threw a fastball that last pitch, he likes to throw the slider, likes to throw the changeup. And I used to look for McGraw's screwball all the time.
Just missing up and in. And so now the runners will have a running start. And unfortunately for Ed Lynch and the Cubs, that will mean that Mike Scioscia will have a shot at scoring on a double. That's why you just don't want to go to 3-2 with 2 outs and men on base.
That move only got players that I managed.
You got a few of those guys, huh?
Brett Butler one time.
Well, nobody covered, so Eddie would have to run him down. Runners going. Fouled off. You know, you mentioned something interesting about your days as the skipper of the New York Mets. You sent down Eddie Lynch a couple of times.
I only thought it was once. He reminded me it was twice.
The pitchers remember that.
Yeah. They remember who to hate. But Eddie did a good job for me. He come up mainly as a starter. And as they say, he battles you. And he'll protect his players. He'll keep a hitter uncomfortable. Because he doesn't go out there with the equipment of a lot of other young pitchers.
Runner going. Foul back once again. You know, and the thing about Eddie Lynch, Joe, is that he really never holds a grudge, because when he hit you in the leg with a bat, he was just trying to loosen up to get ready to hit tonight.
And it's funny because you come down to spring training at the end of spring training every year, and a guy with Eddie Lynch's ability as an inexperienced pitcher, you know, he's always on the borderline. If there's someone that has a little more velocity, you'll always take that guy. But he just kept turning up like a bad penny.
Runners going. Foul back once again. So a good battle between Franklin Stubbs. This is dangerous because Stubbs fouled the fastball straight back. And you know, Joe, when you foul it straight back, you're right on the pitch. You've gauged the velocity, and you just missed the ball. Another ball in the same spot, we could be looking at a 3-run homer.
You look at it 2 different ways. You have practice swings. However, Eddie Lynch has to realize he fouled off a couple of pitches. Now, if he throws something out of the strike zone, he might get the hitter to go for a bad ball.
Strike 3, Eddie Lynch out of the first inning. So the Dodgers get a couple of hits and they leave 2. They scored a run, and we're through 1 with the Dodgers on top 1-0.
Ladies and gentlemen.
To be here tomorrow.
Steve Stone back along with Joe Torre. And Joe, after managing 2 major league teams, do you find yourself managing in the booth?
Yes, but nobody hears you down there until the next day. And the writers were right. It is easier to manage up here.
Everything looks easier. You don't realize when you're down there how difficult it can be at times. And so, Joe, going to give you an opportunity to call all the action and see if you can get the Cubs some runs.
Okay, we'll go to the top half of the second inning. Cubs trail 1-0. It'll be Durham, Moreland, and Dayette against the left-handed slants of Rick Honeycutt. Durham takes a strike.
I'd like to pass along best wishes to a great Cubs fan, Steve Whaley, looking on in Nashville, Tennessee.
Honeycutt looks like he's throwing the ball pretty well. He has a slider. He's been known to doctor the ball every once in a while. I know people find that hard to believe. Ball up out of the strike zone. 2 balls, 1 strike.
Jim Fry was the man that found the tack on it.
Did he? Is he the one when he was with Kansas City? Huh?
And there were no real warm greetings when Jimmy walked by Rick Honeycutt on the field. I think he still remembers that suspension. In fact, it went into the next season.
Good fastball, swung on and missed. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Outfield playing straight away for Bull Durham, who can hit it out of any part of this ballpark.
Has especially good power to left and left center against left-hand pitchers. Let's see if the Bull goes that way.
Foul tip, but held on to. Honeycutt gets his second strikeout victim.
Batting sixth, number 6, third baseman, Keith Moreland.
Keith Moreland. Last night's ball game was 0 for 5, coming in hitting 179. Why is he having so much trouble? He is a much better hitter than that, Steve.
We talked about it before the game, Joe, and you have to point to the defensive adjustment at third base. He worked awfully hard in the spring. He's off to such a terrible start. You wonder if he's taken the glove up to bat with him. That's a mistake that a lot of hitters find themselves falling into.
Takes a breaking ball for a strike, and you wouldn't know it. You go by him and talk to him, and it's just like he had a 4 for 4 night. He's just very good to talk to. Honeycutt misses. 1 ball, 1 strike. We're in the second inning here at Dodger Stadium. Dodgers lead 1-0. Moreland with 2 home runs and 11 RBIs. Dick Stello up with the right hand. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Dwight Gooden threw 3 innings at AAA in Tidewater, and he threw very well. Walked a couple, only gave up 1 hit. And you'll be seeing Dwight Gooden before too long.
Just misses. Honeycutt thought he had it. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
You expect the left side of the infield to be very busy when Rick Honeycutt is on the mound. That slow breaking ball, right-handers, if they try to pull it, will pound it to shortstop or third. So if you're Bill Madlock and Mariano Duncan, you've got to be on your toes tonight.
They're playing him straight away, infield and outfield. This is a big ballpark. Pitcher's ballpark. On the ground of Duncan, backhands the ball with the long throw. Got him. Nice play, Franklin Stubbs.
And the left side of that infield getting a workout. This is the 3rd ground ball hit that way, and a good play by Duncan. He's a converted second baseman, so he doesn't have the strongest arm around, and here he plants the back foot. Franklin Stubbs showing some impressive glove work in the early going. This is the 2nd throw he's had to pick out of the dirt. Now watch the backhand pickup. Good play by Duncan, and good camera work, guys.
Arnie does a good job, doesn't he?
The best. Simply the best,
Watching
Joe.
you guys for years, and now I'm finding out firsthand. Brian Dayette takes a breaking ball, strike 1. Brian hitting .357, 1 home run, 2 RBIs. With the left-hand pitcher out there getting a shot to start in left field. Honeycutt has always been a good early season pitcher. He's always pitched well before the All-Star break and has had trouble really putting it together after that time.
I don't think he has a particularly strong arm, and I think as the season goes along, he wears down.
Fouled off on third base. 1 ball, 2 strikes, 2 out.
I think a lot of people don't realize that going out to the mound every 4 or 5 days, you get a sore arm. And it's usually from about the middle of May on, your arm hurts, and depending on the severity of the pain, your performance will reflect it. Pitching is tough.
Ron Paranowski, the Dodger great reliever, the left-handed reliever for many years. Sinker ball. Count even at 2-2.
To pass along a happy 83rd birthday to big Cub fan Sophie Smith in Downers Grove.
Ball hit in the air to left field. Guerrero right there in his tracks makes the play. Nothing across for the Cubs in the top of the second. As we go to the bottom of the second, Dodgers 1, Cubs nothing.
Steve Stone back along with Joe Torre. You half expect King Kong to climb up that building any minute.
That's a little eerie.
Number 3, second baseman.
We're into the bottom half of the second inning. At the bottom of the order, Sachs, Ramsey, and Honeycutt to face Ed Lynch. Steve Sachs, 2 for 3 last night with a run scored, hitting .235. Not the Sachs of last year. Steve Sachs hit .332 last year. Was fighting for the batting title for a good portion of the season. Had himself 10 home runs, 60 RBIs. But he's struggling so far this year.
And you have to watch the bunt. He had a bunt base hit last night. He's very good at it.
With a strike. He's probably as good a bunter as you see Mr. Sutcliffe getting ready for tomorrow night's confrontation against Pena. Eddie Lynch drops down from the side. 1 ball, 1 strike. Steve Sachs takes another strike. 1 ball, 2 strikes.
Now as the count moves along, the outfield is shifting. Bobby Dernier going a couple steps over to right center. They figure Lynch to stay away from Sachs.
And he does it. He hits the ball to right field in the hole. Base hit. With 2 strikes, Steve Sachs takes the ball the other way.
Boy, you have to love that, because that's a good piece of hitting. You cut your stroke down and you go with the pitch. The outfield shift tipped the location of this pitch, and Sachs goes inside out, takes it to right field. And now the Dodgers have a base running threat with Mike Ramsey up.
And Mike Ramsey, the hitter. Mike was 1 for 3 last night with an RBI, hitting .241. He's sort of solved the Dodger problems in center field, where they've had Landreau for a few years looking to improve. If you look at Sachs at first. Ball 1.
I think he's done a good job in center field, and Tommy Lasorda said he doesn't care if he hits just .220 because he can go get him in the alleys. When Mike Marshall was healthy, he really helped out going into the alley in right center. Guerrero, not the most graceful outfielder, doesn't have a whole lot of range. So the pressure's on Ramsey to really patrol most everything out there.
Swung on and missed, strike 1. 1 ball, 1 strike. Well, you know as a pitcher, Steve, that you have key positions. You'd like to have your good defensive people at shortstop, center field, and behind the plate, and that really makes pitching a lot easier. Squares around, takes it for strike 2. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Steve Sachs at first base. We're in the 2nd inning. Dodgers lead 1-0. Ed Lynch out on the mound for the Cubs. Outfield playing shallow in left field and around to left. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Again, you don't want to go full on the count because you'll start Sachs up at first, and he's liable to start now with a 2-2 count.
Good time to strike him out and throw him out. Jody loves to throw behind the runner with a left-hander up. If Sachs is not going and he strays, Jody can flip the ball down there very quickly. He had a chip fracture on his little finger of his throwing hand, so early in the season he would never throw behind the runner. Now his hand is feeling a lot better, and when he's right, he's as good as Tony Pena at flipping the ball behind the hitter's back and taking somebody off the bases.
Ball popped down the left field line. Dayette going over. It's going to be in the stands. Count remains 2-2.
Joe, what was the toughest facet of managing for you?
Well, it was really trying to keep the players involved. I think players have changed from the times you and I played. Players right now I don't think are as responsible as we were. You know, we were put on the field, all right, guys, here it is. But there's so much more teaching going on at the major league level now, and players are given an opportunity to play in the big leagues as opposed to earning it. And it's not their fault. It's just the nature of the game right now because of free agency, and you don't have control over players that long. Count goes full, 3-2. Let's keep an eye on Steve Sachs at first base. Nobody out. Rick Honeycutt on deck.
Cubs made a roster move today. They sent down Jay Baller, and they brought back Les Lancaster.
There goes Sachs. Ball hit in the air. Dunston going over. He has the only shot for it. It's going to fall. Base hit. Little bloop single off the bat of Mike Ramsey.
Well, that ball was up there a long time, and Brian Dayette got a slow jump on the ball. He's playing him shallow. This is a ball that should have been caught. Sachs is off. Look how long this ball stays up. Dunston with a real long run. Brian Dayette, thinking Dunston's going to take it, kind of backs off, and the ball falls in between him.
And it looked like Dunston was looking for Dayette because he seemed to look up. He was the closest one to it. That'll turn that hair a little bit grayer.
Herm Starrett, Gene Michael. And for the second straight inning, Ed Lynch in trouble.
And the pitcher up in an ideal situation. Everybody will be coming. It'll be a bunt situation. And we'll see if the Cubs put on the rotation play.
Well, you want to bunt it to third base if you can. Now Ryne Sandberg coming in to talk to Eddie Lynch. What will happen is Gene Michael will radio the sign to Keith Moreland. He will give the sign to the infield and then go over and tell everybody just what's going on. Usually to the pitcher, they do it verbally. They don't take for granted that the pitcher knows a set of signs. They figure he's got enough to handle with the catcher's set of signs.
I think that's a great idea. I know as a first baseman, I used to go over and talk to the pitcher and tell him all the time what was going to happen. This way he couldn't say I missed the sign or I thought it was something else. We don't respect pitchers that much. You realize that, don't you?
Thanks. I appreciate that.
And the rotation play is on. They swing away. To Sandberg, his only play is to first base. Sacrifice, but he doesn't get credit for a sacrifice. That's really the only way you could offset that rotation play, because if you bunt it to third, you have the shortstop coverage.
Good piece of hitting by Honeycutt. He knows the runners are going. Fortunately, Sandberg's staying at home. Now there's nobody at second to make the force out because Dunston was on his way to third. So Tommy Lasorda, with a pretty good bit of strategy, moves up the base runners. Joe, you started as a catcher. When did you get smart enough to make the conversion to first base?
When I talked him into making Ted Simmons the everyday catcher. I'll tell you, when I came over to St. Louis, I was a catcher in my early days with Milwaukee, and then moved to Atlanta as a catcher, and then get traded in '69 for Orlando Cepeda, which meant one thing, that I was going to play first base, and it's a lot more fun at first base. Infield playing up, the play at the plate. Foul off third base. And here's an interesting situation early in the game. You've got Mariano Duncan, and Gene Michael decides to play the infield up, and you could be behind 3-0.
This is very surprising because anytime you move the infield up, you cut down all the angles on the ground balls. You probably add 50 points onto a hitter's average.
And you can see them there, up on the left side, up on the right side. Lynch pitching out of a stretch.
Eddie Lynch not very happy. He thinks it was a foul tip.
Jody Davis wants the foul tip, but no umpire at first or third can help you there. If that umpire doesn't hear it behind the plate, you just lost out on a strike. The reason I don't like playing the infield up early in the game, for one reason, is the fact that you're giving him another run if the ball gets through, but even worse is second and third. If it's just a man on third, you want to take a chance with a light-hitting hitter, fine, but second and third, you have a chance of falling behind 3-0. 1 ball, 1 strike, 1 out. We're in the second. Dodgers lead 1-0. And Eddie Lynch wants to get Duncan. He does not want the left-handed hitting Landreau coming up with the bases loaded. Landreau singled first time up, as did Duncan. Duncan was hitless last night. Off the end of the bat. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
Apparently, Gene Michael figures that they're not going to score too many off Rick Honeycutt. Because if he felt that Honeycutt wasn't throwing the ball well, he could afford to give up a run or 2 here and not worry about it. But the Dodgers already 1 run up, and Honeycutt, with 2 hitless innings, looks to Michael like he's going to be tough, and he wants to cut off a rally right here.
Foul back. Jams Duncan with the fastball. Count remains 2-2. Mariano Duncan, he's one of the few shortstops in the Dodgers history that hasn't played center field.
They had a number of them, didn't they?
Really did, going back to Bobby Valentine and Bill Russell.
Mariano Duncan, a shortstop from San Pedro de Macorís in the Dominican Republic, and we've talked about it before, Joe, but can you imagine a team with 9 players all playing shortstop? Because everywhere you look, if they're from San Pedro de Macorís, they are a shortstop.
A lot of double plays in those leagues. Lays off the breaking ball. Count goes full, 3-2. What do you want him to hit right here, Steve?
To my way of thinking, I got to throw him another breaking ball with first base open. Outfield shallow. like to make it happen. You're thinking about a strikeout is what you're thinking about, maybe a pop-up. You can do that on the curveball. Fastball, he has a good shot at maybe hitting the fly ball.
And the breaking ball. You believe that whatever you throw 2 and 2, you don't throw something 3 and 2 that you wouldn't throw 2 and 2.
I would just keep throwing him the curveball until I got him, because I think he's not a very good breaking ball hitter, and if Eddie doesn't hang it, it's going to work out okay. But if you had your choice in the outfield tonight, where you'd like to see the ball hit, you'd have to pick Andre Dawson in right field. Bobby Dernier doesn't throw it all. Dayette has a decent arm, but a long, slow delivery. So the arm in the outfield is Dawson in right, and if you see a fly ball out there, we could see a pretty good play at the plate.
And Andre is playing shallow in right field. That is not Duncan's power field. Breaking ball, base hit right field. Here comes Ramsey. It's going to be a play at the plate. Safe. 3-0 Dodgers. And on the throw, Duncan goes to second.
Take another look at it. Looks like a high fastball out over the plate. And Duncan wraps it into right field. RBIs number 10 and 11. And here comes the throw that managers don't like to see. Leon Durham letting it go. There's really no chance to get Mike Ramsey at home, and on the play, Mariano Duncan moves into scoring position. The Cubs get taken out of a double play situation, and the big inning might perpetuate itself.
Well, see, that's up to Durham to cut it off. That man is running in front of him, and you have to instruct, or I'm sure he is instructed, to stay away from the big innings early and take the outs when you can, and know the runners that are on base. And Ramsey runs very, very well. Landreau single his first time up. Takes a breaking ball, strike one.
And the bullpen busy for the Cubs early. Eddie Lynch forced into a starting role because Steve Trout went on the disabled list. And so Lynch, who's a versatile performer, doing something that the Cubs don't want to see him do a lot of, and that's starting a ball game. They'd like to have him in the bullpen. He's a valuable man in the middle.
Landreau, who likes to hit the fastball, takes a breaking ball. 1-1. Landreau has a mini 4-game hitting streak going. Playing in the outfield, getting some play time now with Mike Marshall on the disabled list. As you look at Duncan at second base. His single accounted for 2 runs. Popped up. Durham calling for it and makes the play. 2 out. That'll bring up Bill Madlock.
Third baseman, Bill Madlock.
Madlock fly to Dawson in the first inning, not deep enough for the runner to score, but he wind up scoring on a sacrifice fly from Guerrero.
This is where protection in back of you helps. If the man in back of you is not hitting the ball, then you're going to work your way around Madlock to get to him. But with Pedro Guerrero standing in the on-deck circle, Madlock figures to get something hittable in this at-bat.
And pops it up. Durham again, 3 out. But in the second inning, the Dodgers picked up 2 more runs on 3 hits. And they left a base runner, and at the end of 2 innings, it's 3-0 LA.
Steve Stone back along with Joe Torre. So far, Rick Honeycutt sailing right along, and Eddie Lynch has struggled in the early going.
Well, he gave up the 2 runs, which makes it a little easier for the Dodgers. 3-0, top of the 3rd inning, and Honeycutt will face Dunston, Lynch, and Dernier. Sean Dunston getting off to a really miserable start. 183, no home runs, 1 RBI. What's been his problem?
Well, he showed some signs last night of coming out of it. Had a base hit and lined out another time in the 7th inning. He's just swinging at some bad pitches, low out of the zone, up over his head. Billy Williams trying to shorten his stride.
Lifted in the air to right field. Landreau coming over. Sacks going out. Landreau makes the catch. Outfielder is the quarterback on that play. Get that infielder out of the way.
This would have been a very tough play for Steve Sachs. Fortunately, Kenny Landreau over by the line. Take another look at it. It's a slider, inner portion of the plate. And Landreau coming hard, finally takes over. You have to be very vocal. You got to get the second baseman out of the play. Landreau did just that, and he's not very sure on this catch. but it works out okay for the Dodgers.
Much easier making that play coming in as opposed to going out. Ed Lynch, the hitter. Ball one.
Like a send along a Cubs hello to Tony and Mona Belisario. Big Chicago Cubs fans.
Count even at 1-1. How's Ed Lynch been swinging the bat this year?
And he's not the best hitter that we've got on the ball club. He will occasionally make some contact.
Evidenced by Amalfitano pulling everybody in. There he is. Nobody's looking at him, though. That's the problem.
Well, he's bringing in the planes. You figure a plane's going to land, and he's looking for a job.
On the ground, the shortstop. Duncan to Stubbs. 2 up, 2 down, the third inning. Bob Denier.
Bob Denier.
Grounded to Matlock. Madlock in the first inning.
Bobby gets in a habit of trying to pull everything. He got off to such a great start this year. Now the average starting to settle. Pitchers are starting to stay away from him. Early in the year, you hang the breaking ball because your arm's not strong, and you can't consistently keep the ball away. But as we're getting now into the middle of May, pitcher's trying to hit that outside corner. If Bobby keeps pulling the ball, he's going to ground out a lot to the left side. He's got to keep the ball out of the air, and you'd like to see him go the other way because a lot of teams just work him outside and just stay out there.
Takes a breaking ball, strike one. That's ideal. That is really a sin when a guy who can run like a Denier hits the ball in the air, because you really can't utilize the speed that you're given.
And he really doesn't bunt, and that would be one of his strongest attributes if he could learn to lay it down consistently.
1 ball, 1 strike.
Also, if he was an excellent bunter, Madlock, who is a couple steps off the grass, might even have to play in a little bit, and that gives him a bigger hole between third and shortstop.
On the ground, the short. Duncan, 3 out. Nothing across for the Cubs in the third. As we go to the bottom half of the third inning, still Dodgers 3, Cubs nothing.
Just a reminder to all you Cub fans that on Monday, May 18th, the Cubs travel to Comiskey Park to take on the White Sox in the Gatorade Windy City Classic. For ticket information, call 924-1000 or 559-1212. Tickets may also be purchased at any Ticketmaster location. Steve Stone back along with Joe Torre, and so far Rick Honeycutt has just about everything going for him.
Well, I think you're right, Steve. They're trying to pull the ball off Honeycutt, and when that happens, he's got the meeting out of his hand. Ed Lynch on the mound, the bottom half of the third inning. Pedro Guerrero knocked in the first Dodger run with a sacrifice fly in the first inning. Takes a ball.
You know, when you look at Guerrero's numbers, an answer that Tommy Lasorda gave me today kind of surprised me. I asked him who he thought was his most valuable player, and he didn't hesitate. He said Mike Scioscia. He said he handles the pitchers well, he gets the big hits for them, and he thinks that he's one of the reasons why their staff leads the league. Now, you as a former catcher, what can you do for a pitcher to help him out?
Well, I think, first of all, a catcher's back there every day, and a catcher can lead a pitcher. Not that you tell him what to throw, but you give him confidence to let him know that you know what you're doing. Can hold up on the breaking ball. 2 balls, 1 strike. And, you know, we kid about pitchers, you know, not being athletes and whatever, but the whole game is geared around pitching. If you don't pitch well, you're not going to win. And a ball club that pitches well is going to be a contender all the time, and especially if things get close in September and August. Ed Lynch seems to be settling in a little bit. That's the breaking ball Eddie Lynch needs. He needs the ball low and away. He's been throwing too many belt-high fastballs.
Did you used to lie to the pitchers, Joe, when they were throwing like death? Did you say, boy, you got it going tonight?
If I knew there was nobody behind them, yes. You have to lie. I'm not telling you youngsters to tell lies to your mom and dad now. This is just psychological warfare. And another breaking ball. Gets Guerrero, strike 3. Ed Lynch strikes out his second Dodger.
Mike Scioscia.
Up steps Mike Scioscia. Walked in the first inning. Ed Lynch has retired 3 in a row since giving up the 1-out single to Mariano Duncan to put the Dodgers ahead 3-0 here in the third. That's that off-speed pitch. What is that, his changeup?
Straight change. He throws slow, a little slower, and then he changes up off that.
He'll get wind of that one. Change off the breaking ball. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Tom Dreesen can't stay away. He did the ball game last night. He's back here tonight. The big Cub fan with John Epstein, a Hollywood producer, rooting on the Cubs once again.
1 ball, 2 strikes. Playing Socia straight away in left field, and Denier in center is just slightly pulled. Mike, I know we tried to pitch him. We tried to get in on his hands. As you see, Bobby Denier, we tried to get in on his hands. Invariably, he'd fight the ball off and hit the ball down the left field line on you. In the air back here. Count stays at 1-2. That pitch got in on him.
How did the Angels look this year? You think they're going to stay up there all season?
Well, again, it's back to pitching. They have some fine young players. Devon White, McLemore, of course, Wally Joyner, after an early season slump, has come back to really lead the ball club. And Brian Downing in the leadoff spot has done a tremendous job. I don't know. You have to believe there might be something to juicing up the ball. There have been a lot of home runs this year.
21% over last year. The home runs are up.
Misses away. Ball 2.
Tomorrow night it's Jay Johnstone. Friday night, Pat Williams from Houston, the president and general manager of the New Orlando Magic of the NBA. And then the final broadcast without Harry coming on Sunday, and Bob Starr of KTLA in Los Angeles.
Breaking ball into left center field, base hit. So Socia gets on with a 1-out single here in the 3rd inning.
First baseman, Franklin Stubbs.
There you look at our guest tomorrow night, Jay Johnstone.
He's a piece of work, too. He's a piece of work.
Over the edge.
Franklin Stubbs, Eddie Lynch's first strikeout victim. Stubbs, a strong young man, can hit a ball a long way. Like to throw in the breaking ball. Likes to hit the fastball.
The Polis family here today from Roselle. Grandpa, big Cubs fan back in Chicago.
Stubbs had a 9-game hitting streak earlier this season. Popped out to the left side, foul. 1 ball, 1 strike.
Manny Mota said that Franklin Stubbs is just really learning how to hit. And learning how to hit entails knowing what pitches you can pull and what pitches you have to hit the opposite way. Mota, a great tutor. He's telling him to keep that right shoulder in, that he's flying open a little too quickly. You have a tendency to do that against a soft tosser because you just can't wait. The right shoulder flies open, you got nothing left behind the ball.
And again, fouls the ball off. And that front shoulder, if the front shoulder stays aimed at the pitcher, your head can't come out. That's the important thing. Because once the shoulder goes, the head follows, and you're not watching the ball, and you shorten your bat probably 6 inches. Dodgers 3 runs on 6 hits and no errors. Cubs have yet to have a hit. Ball hit in the air to center field. Bobby Denier going back. Settle under it. That's the 2nd out.
Second baseman,
Steve Sachs, who started the trouble in the 2nd inning with a base hit to right field, a 2-strike single. He is really pesky with 2 strikes. I can just see the flares going down the right field line. Not only do you move everybody over when Steve Sachs has 2 strikes, but you pull them in, especially in right field, because all he does is just try to poke the ball out there. And he tries to bunt. Foul.
Steve wanted to pass along a hello to his wife, Debbie, looking on. She's expecting a child. Couldn't come to the ball game tonight, but she is watching the game on the WGN cable.
There's Tommy. Seems to be comfortable. Propped up there on the bench. Is he another positive one? Him and Chuck Tanner.
Cheerleader for his ball club. He really pumps up his players, tells everyone that they're the best that he's ever seen.
You were getting on him about
can't believe
Honeycutt throwing hard. He can throw hard.
Yeah.
He throws hard.
10 strikeouts last time out, he said. He's got a good fastball.
Takes the fastball. No balls, 2 strikes. So let's see what happens again. Steve Sachs with 2 strikes on him. Denier moving over to right center field. Andre Dawson shortening up a little bit, moving closer to the line and right. As you look at Mike Scioscia at first base.
Good time to waste one up and in. For Eddie Lynch, that'll help protect that outside corner. Let's see where he goes. Looks like he's going away.
Misses the corner. Jody Davis sitting outside. 1 ball, 2 strikes. 2 out. We're in the 3rd. Dodgers lead 3-0. Breaking ball to right center field. Denier coming on. Ball scoots away from him. Scioscia's holding at 3rd, and Sachs stays with a single. Denier looked like he had a chance to catch the ball. Looked down, the ball was not in the glove.
They were playing him right. Hits this breaking ball right at Bobby Dernier. Now watch Bobby come on, make that sliding attempt. He's got the ball almost in the glove, then it trickles out. And fortunately, he was able to right himself and hold Mike Scioscia at 3rd base. Now take another look at it. We'll go behind Bobby Dernier. Just never really could get control of that one.
He might have kicked it out of his own glove. I tell you, that's the kind of play that's really dangerous on artificial surface, too. That ball is liable to wind up against the right center field wall. Mike Ramsey. A single the first time up, came around and scored in the 2nd inning. Scored the 3rd Dodger run. 1st and 3rd, 2 men out here in the 3rd inning. More activity in the Cub bullpen.
Now, if you're going to play Mike Ramsey this way and that swung around toward left center, you cannot throw him anything off speed on the inner half. There's a big gap in right center, a lot of room down the line and right. So if you're going to play him this way, you have to pitch him away.
Pitch him away, play him away, stay hard. And the breaking ball, no sooner out of our mouth. There's a ball he could rake down the right field line, and people could run for hours.
Boy, that is a big gamble. You can see Andre Dawson well off the line, a big gap, and straight away right center.
Two balls, 1 strike. Rick Honeycutt on deck. So Ramsey will be pitched to rather carefully.
Tommy was sort of talking about his weight training in the off-season.
He has it all stationary. 3 balls, 1 strike.
Eddie really hasn't had the pinpoint control this year that he showed the Cubs last year. He struggled a little with his breaking ball and location.
And he didn't have a very good spring, did he?
No, he just got off to a slow start. It really wasn't too impressive.
Sachs leading off first, Scioscia around at 3rd base. Young Mike Ramsey came to spring training as a non-roster player, wind up making the ball club in spring training. Takes a breaking ball, strike 2. So Steve Sachs will be off with the pitch. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out. Eddie Lynch has been struggling. He's given up 7 hits here in 2 2/3 innings. On the ground. Moreland with a play over to first, not in time, throws the ball away. Sachs will score from second. Durham with the throw, just throws it to the middle of the infield. Keith Moreland makes a nice play, but a mistake in trying to throw across the diamond to get to Speedy Ramsey.
It goes as an RBI and an error on Keith Moreland. They give Ramsey a base hit. It is a good stop. Then Moreland gets up and just really launches this one well over the head of Leon Durham. He's getting way below the ball thrown over. And you know, That is a big mistake by any third baseman, not staying over the top. Keith has really dropped that arm, and it costs him an error for Moreland.
Gene Michael.
Error number 5.
Out to the mound. He's going to make a change.
We'll be back with more after these messages. Steve Stone back along with Joe Torre. We're going to isolate on Keith Moreland. The first half of the play looks pretty good, but Moreland should have put this ball in his pocket. There's really no shot to get Ramsey. He's just too quick. Watch what Keith does. Look how far sidearm he comes. And when your hand is under the ball, it's going to stay up. And this one is just launched over the head of Leon Durham. So Ramsey does get a base hit and an RBI, his 12th of the year, and an error charge to Moreland, and that's the first of the ball game.
And what's interesting on that play also is Dunston was in position to field the ball, and it might have been an idea for him to call him off. However, it happened so quick, I don't think Moreland would have hurt him.
And a very good friend of mine in the booth with me, Roy Firestone, enjoying the game today. How's everything going?
Just terrific, Steve. It's a pleasure to be out here at Dodger Stadium, see the Cubs. We try to make the turn whenever we can. We're looking forward to Harry coming back Tuesday night, and actually Tuesday afternoon. And one thing we'd like to plug, too, is that you appeared on the Sports Look show, and you'll be on ESPN tomorrow afternoon, West Coast time at 3 o'clock and 5 o'clock Chicago time, for those of you who get it on cable.
And you threw a couple of curveballs at him. He's
Right.
the curveball pitcher, and you threw a couple of curveballs at him.
We had a great time with Steve. We were talking about the litany of guest commentators. And Joe Torre, by the way, one of the best. We've had a chance to hear them back there just a few moments ago.
Oh, you people are so nice.
We'll let you get on with the game.
Okay, Roy. Always good to see you. Thanks a lot for stopping by. And Frank DePino taking over. Frank 1-0. 2.08 ERA, making his 10th appearance. He's been used in the middle, 8 2/3 innings, 10 hits, only 2 earned runs. Both of them coming on home runs. He's walked 6, struck out 5.
Well, Frank DePino is in the middle now to try to just stop the bleeding. 5-0 Dodgers. Rick Honeycutt takes a strike. Ramsey at second. He's down there with an infield single and going to second on the throwing error by Keith Moreland. Strike 2. The inning started off with Guerrero striking out, Socia single, Stubbs flied ball to center field, and then back-to-back singles by Sachs and Ramsey and the throwing error by Moreland. One ball, 2 strikes, 2 out.
Cubs 4-2 on this road trip. They come into today's action 1 game up. And first place is a good place to be, especially as we head to the middle of May.
What I marvel at, Steve, is how well they've played on the road so far this year. Base hit center field. Ramsey will try to score. Denier with the throw. He's got him. Nice diving tag by Jody Davis, and a good throw by Bobby Denier.
We'll take a look at it as we go out. Base hit to center. And watch the play by Bobby Dernier, charging the ball aggressively, coming on to throw a strike to Jody Davis. Bobby doesn't throw him out too often. This is a pretty good throw, cutting down a speedy Mike Ramsey. So we're out of the 3rd inning with the score: the Dodgers 5, the Cubs nothing.
Held in Oakland on July 14th for the Cubs. Second baseman.
Hi again, everyone. Welcome back to Los Angeles, Dodger Stadium, as we move into the 4th inning with Steve Stone and our producer-director, Arnie Harris. This is Dwayne Stantz. Nice to have you with us. The Cubs are down 5-0, and Steve, they have a lot of ground to make up against a left-hander who's been pretty tough.
Well, it seems like every time the Cubs start a game on the West Coast, they're no hit through 3 or 4 innings. They've always come back. Hopefully tonight will be no exception. But Honeycutt getting everything over the plate, changing speeds well, mixing up his locations, and so far the Cubs haven't been able to do anything with him.
Ryne Sandberg leads it off in the 4th, and the pitch is in there for a strike call. Sandberg drew a base on balls in the 1st inning. He loves to hit in this ballpark and has hit well against Honeycutt through the years. Lifetime .391 against him. He lifts this one into shallow right, Sachs is out there from second after it and makes the catch. So Ryne Sandberg is the first out in the Cub fourth.
Right fielder.
That will bring up Andre Dawson. Well, Honeycutt is coming off two very impressive strikeout performances. Coming into this game, he had 30 strikeouts in just under 27 innings, and that's something of a departure for Rick Honeycutt.
I think he's throwing the ball a lot like Jamie Moyer. In fact, you can liken their styles. He throws a few more curveballs than Jamie, but they both have good changeup. They both like to stay away from the hitters and occasionally buzz them inside.
Dawson goes after this one and fouls it straight back, strike one. Well, Honeycutt's keeping the ball in on Dawson. He struck him out that way in the first inning and starts him that way here in the fourth.
This is a Dodger team philosophy. They're the first team that I've seen that stayed consistently inside on Andre. Now, it didn't pay off real well yesterday, 3 for 5 with a 2-run homer, but they got that ball out over the plate.
There's one, tap back to the mound, and a good play by Honeycutt. The throw to first is in time. So Dawson is out, pitcher first.
Jody Davis.
2 up, 2 down. Here's another look.
Honeycutt's 6'2", and he needs it all right here. If this ball gets over his head, they're going to have a hard time throwing Dawson out at first base. It's routine from there.
Still nothing doing against Honeycutt. The only base runner the Cubs have had was that first inning walk by Ryne Sandberg. And here is Jody Davis. Jody went out third to first his first time up. And the pitch is in there for a strike. Speaking of the ground ball to third, Madlock is still not throwing the ball very well.
No, that shoulder just isn't strong, and it looks like every throw is a big effort for him.
This pitch is a little outside. 1 ball, 1 strike.
And that's why I'm a little surprised with the left-hander on the mound and Madlock at third base. Why Bobby Dernier and perhaps Sandberg or Dunston don't lay the ball down, because Madlock can't get the ball to first.
There's a swing and a miss, and the count is 1-2. Well, you'd think just any kind of a bunt up that third base side would almost be an automatic base hit.
Well, it's the toughest play for a left-hand pitcher to make. He looks to the third baseman, and Madlock not the most graceful under ordinary conditions, but now with the shoulder surgery, it's even more of a struggle.
There's a foul ball back and out of play. 2 gone. There's Jody's lifetime statistics here at Dodger Stadium.
You have got to look away when Rick Honeycutt throws his fastball. He's going to throw his breaking ball where you can pull it. But if he throws a fastball, you have to go the opposite way. If Jody is patient, he might get one out away from him and plug that gap in right center.
And there's a base hit into right field. So down on the count, 1-2. He does go the other way and picks up the first Cub hit. That's one thing that Jody Davis has been doing so well in the early part of the year, is hitting the ball the other way, and here it is.
See the fastball away, Jody goes away. This is the way to hit Rick Honeycutt. You try to do anything else, and you're going to wear out Madlock and Mariano Duncan.
And you know, Steve, from the Dodger perspective, that's what they were doing with Ed Lynch, with the notable exception maybe of a Guerrero or a Stubbs. They went the other way with him.
But doing that because of the breaking ball. Eddie likes to throw that curveball away, 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 and they're just looking and hitting it that way.
Here's Leon Durham. Durham fanned his first time. 1 of 2 strikeouts recorded by Honeycutt. There's a foul ball, strike 1. 5 runs, 9 hits for Los Angeles. No runs, 1 hit now for the Cubs. Honeycutt 1-1 on the year, coming into this game an earned run average of just over 2, 2.03. This is his 6th start. Here it is, and a fly ball down the left side. Madlock, Duncan, Guerrero chasing, and it's out of the reach of Madlock and Duncan. A foul ball, and the count goes to 2 strikes.
Pretty nice gesture by Mill Madlock, giving that young lady a souvenir. Something she'll never forget. Good effort by Madlock. Now he figures, well, I don't need this one, and it has hit the grass, so there you go. Public relations, that's what it's all about.
Meanwhile, the count to Leon Durham is 2 strikes. With Jody Davis at first and 2 gone.
He threw the breaking ball away from Leon Durham in this situation in the second inning. Just off the plate, Leon was swinging. So if you see where Scioscia sets up, you'll have a pretty good idea about what they want to use. A good curveball here, and usually that's about it.
This one down and away. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Cubs 2-1 on the year against the Los Angeles Ball Club, dividing a 2-game set at Wrigley, winning last night, but down by 5 tonight. There's a ball away, and the count evens 2-2. Durham came in hitting .327. Over 400 in this stretch of 17 games in which he has hit safely in 16. He's 2-2 against the left-hander. The pitch swung on, and there's a high fly ball, shallow right, Landreau in. He's got it, and that retires the side. No runs, 1 hit. The Cubs leave a base runner, and we go into the bottom half of inning 4 with a score 5-0 Los Angeles.
This copyright telecast is presented by the authority of the Chicago National League Ball Club, which has the right of approval of the announcers and is intended solely for the private non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or other use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Chicago National League Ball Club is prohibited.
On to the Dodger half of the 4th inning. They'll have the top of the batting order up there against Frank DePino. Ed Lynch worked 2 2/3 innings tonight. He made 78 pitches in the 2 2/3 innings. That's about as far as you can get from the Ed Lynch who is effective. There are times when Lynch can throw 6 or 7 innings and make only 78 pitches.
Well, I don't think we've seen the control that Eddie Lynch threw last year. Usually he always gets ahead of the hitter. He makes him hit their pitch, doesn't run long in the counts. But tonight was an exception.
Well, here's Duncan, and the pitch is low, ball 1. DePino worked day before yesterday in San Diego, working an inning and a third. There's one too low, and he falls behind Duncan 2-0.
How'd you like to win 13 games in a row at the start of the season and now see only a 1 or 2 game lead over the Yankees in Toronto? That's the plight of the Milwaukee Brewers so far.
This pitch is fouled back into the screen, so the count is 2-1. Boy, it's tough. You'd think that you'd have a big lead. Of course, we talked about that during their stretch. They never really got out to as big a lead as you would think they may. And the Yankees now just a half game behind Milwaukee. This pitch foul, back and out of play. So the count is 2-2.
I think it's pretty much of a surprise in the National League West that the Dodgers are as close as they are, only 3.5 back. San Francisco managing to stay afloat despite losing their whole infield. And Cincinnati just a half a game back coming into this one. As you look at Tommy Lasorda, who's got to be a little happier than he was last night.
The 2-2, a foul ball off Jody Davis. So the count holds at 2-2. You know, Oakland is out in front of Milwaukee 7-4 at the end of 6, Steve. And the Yankees have beaten the White Sox 5-4 in 13 innings. So it's conceivable that they would be in a tie when this night is over. This pitch is low, and the count goes to 3-2. This is not an unfamiliar scenario with Frank DePino. He got out in front 0-2, and now we find a full count here on Duncan. And a little foul ball. It has been very difficult for DePino, who quickly jumps ahead of hitters, to put them away.
You know, Dwayne, you remember him from your days in Houston when he had an overpowering fastball and a hard slider. But since coming over to the Cubs, he seems to have lost something off that fastball, and he hasn't really been able to adjust. He has not been a pretty good pitcher this year.
He'll try the 3-2 again. And he got him this time. Duncan out swinging. First strikeout for DePino. We saw a couple flashes of that good fastball last year, but it never was there consistently for him.
And I think this is a big outing to give Gene Michael confidence enough to use Frank DePino. Lester Lancaster recalled from the minor league, another candidate in the middle. The Cubs have had their problems, as have most of the teams around the league. But this is when the middle reliever really comes to the front. He has got to hold the Dodgers right here.
Here's Kenny Landreau on the first pitch, bounces away, ball 1. Landreau 1 out of 2 with a first inning single. He's getting a little more playing time in that Dodger outfield now that Mike Marshall is on the disabled list. Hatcher and Landreau dividing the right field duties. There's a chopper foul down the right side, and the count is 1-1. We're in the bottom of the 4th with the Cubs trailing the Dodgers. Dodgers a run in the first, 2 each in the second and third innings. DePino in relief of Ed Lynch. And this one is low and away. 2 balls and a strike now. Well, the Reds activated Jerry Royce and started him against the Mets. The Reds were beaten by the Mets 6-2, and Royce lasted 1 out into the second inning.
You know, Jerry Royce did not throw the ball at all in the American Association. He was 0-2 with a 6-point earned run average, and that's the shape of the Cincinnati pitching staff. They have to call up Jerry Royce, and he really doesn't have a whole lot left. It's going to be tough for him to get hitters out consistently.
Count to Landreau now 3-1, and here's the pitch. Fly ball right center field, and that's going to drop for a base hit in front of Bobby Dernier. So DePino gives up a single to Landreau. And Landreau is now 2 for 3.
DePino has got to be careful with Madlock because he likes to guess inside. And it doesn't matter if it's a fastball or a breaking ball. If he's looking inside, he's going to rifle the ball down the left field line. One of the real good guess hitters, has very quick hands inside. And he will guess location. He doesn't care much which pitch is coming. He'll look either inside or outside, and he's going to make pretty good contact.
He's flied out and popped out, and there's a fly ball back into center field. Dernier has room and makes the catch for out number 2. So Madlock is nothing out of 3. Landreau retreating to first. And here's Pedro Guerrero. Guerrero picked up the first run batted into the night with a sacrifice fly to right field. Struck out swinging in the third inning. He had a heck of a time with some off-speed breaking stuff from Lynch during that at bat. Here's the stretch. And the pitch. Ground ball for Dunston. Sean's up with it, and the toss to second for the force, and that retires the side. No runs, 1 hit, 1 left, and through 4. 5-0 Los Angeles. We can order out here at Dodger Stadium. We're moving into the 5th inning. 5-0. The Cubs need to order out a few runs.
I think some sweet and sour pork would taste pretty good right about now.
Here's Keith Moreland. Moreland out in the second inning on a good play by Duncan, the shortstop, and a good play by Stubbs, the first baseman.
And when you're struggling, you look for anything. Bill Madlock back 4 steps in back of the bag at third. He'd give Moreland the bunt base hit.
Honeycutt's pitch is a strike call.
Now, he can't possibly throw out Keith Moreland if he lays it down. But apparently Keith looking for the long ball. Cubs need some base runners down 5.
This pitch away, so the count is 1-1. You know, as impressive as the number of strikeouts Honeycutt has posted in his last couple outings, 9 against the Cardinals and 10 the last time out against the Pirates. There's a chopper up the middle. Time for Duncan to get there, and the throw to first is in time. So Moreland is out 6-3 for the second straight time. As impressive as the strikeouts have been for Honeycutt, the fact that he pitched 8 1/3 innings in that outing against Pittsburgh and has given the Dodgers a few innings is also very important, because as we discussed last night, that Dodger bullpen has not been the most secure place for Tommy Lasorda to turn. Here's Brian Dayette now.
Now he's going to go with his starters as long as he can. There you look at Oral Hershiser. He's made a relief appearance this year.
Picked up a save against St. Louis earlier. Well, here's Dayette. He flied to left his first time. And he takes one too close, ball 1.
Honeycutt spent the early part of his major league career with Seattle. He threw for them for 4 years. Then he went to Texas in 1981. Now you look at Fernando. And Fernando is the second left-handed pinch hitter to come off the bench.
So the count is now 1-1.
Don McMahon threw some batting practice to him. He hit 4 balls in the upper deck in Candlestick Park in right field.
And this pitch is low.
McMahon said that even Willie McCovey could never do that against him. So Fernando can swing the bat.
The 2-1 pitch. And a liner into right that will drop for a base hit. So Dayette with a soft liner into right, falling in front of Landreau. Dayette has made 8 starts now against left-handed pitchers and has picked up at least 1 hit in each of those starts.
Gary Matthews in the on-deck circle. He's going to come on to pinch hit for Frank DePino.
Meanwhile, here's Sean Dunston. You look at Matthews. Dayette, the runner at first, on with a 1-out single. Dunston 0 for 1 with a fly ball to right field. Honeycutt's pitch swung on, and another pop fly right side. Sacks out, Landreau in. Sacks making the call and the catch. So Dunston, for the second straight time, has gone after the first pitch, and this time pops out to second. Now Gary Matthews will pinch hit for Frank DePino.
Sarge 2 for 9, all as a pinch hitter this year. Has not started a ball game.
For the Cubs, batting for the
You see
pitcher,
the numbers, no RBIs.
Number 36, Gary Matthews.
And the Cubs in a dilemma with Gary Matthews. They like to start Jerry Mumphrey. They like to start Dayette. Have started Chico Walker. Really no place in the outfield for Matthews. And they're trying to make a deal for him with the American League. Asking price a little too high at this point.
He swung the bat well against Honeycutt through the years. 2 outs. He goes after the first pitch, and he pops it up. Sacks calling for this one, and he's got it to retire the side. No runs, 1 hit. No errors, 1 left. We move into the bottom half of inning 5. 5-0 Los Angeles.
Waiting.
We go into the Dodger half of the 5th. 5-0 LA on top, and Les Lancaster, who was just recalled to replace Jay Baller, who was sent out, is the 3rd Cub pitcher, following Ed Lynch and Frank DePino.
You know, we talked about the importance of the first outing of Jay Baller because he had to instill confidence in Gene Michael. And if you remember back to San Diego, he balked in 2 runs without throwing a pitch. Maybe the first time a reliever has done that in history. And he really threw the ball poorly. Gene Michael was very impressed with Les Lancaster when he was here earlier in the year. Even though at the time they had to make a change with Steve Trout, they felt Baller was throwing the ball better on the AAA level. Gene Michael has confidence in Lancaster, and once again, this will be a big outing for him.
Les had made 4 appearances with the Cubs before being sent out, covering 6 1/3 innings and putting together an earned run mark of 2.84. Mike Scioscia here in the 5th inning, and he takes the first pitch for a strike, goes after this one and lines it to second for the out. So Scioscia is retired.
Franklin Stubbs.
And that brings up Franklin Stubbs. Lancaster had made 8 relief appearances at Iowa. 0-2 with a 386 earned run average there, covering 21 innings.
He's got a good fastball, a slider to go with it.
Here's the pitch to Stubbs, and he takes one high, ball one. The thing they really like about Les Lancaster is that he has 4 pitches and can throw all 4 of them. He has confidence in them all. This one is swung on and missed, so the count is 1-1. So he has somewhere to go as opposed to a 1 or 2 pitch pitcher. 25-year-old right-hander. This one popped up. Foul ball. Moreland digging hard. Should have a play, but can't hang on. Moreland tried a sliding catch.
He didn't want any repetition of what happened in St. Louis when Barry Lyons, the catcher for the Mets, disappeared into the Cardinal dugout only to injure John Tudor. You see both of them sliding. A tough play for Moreland. Hits right off the heel of the glove, and a safe sign given by Doug Harvey.
So Stubbs is still alive with a count of 1-2.
If Lancaster can throw a high fastball on the inner half, he's going to strike Stubbs out. Franklin is a good strikeout man. He doesn't handle the ball up above the letters, and I'm sure that's where he'd like to get it. Take a look in at Jody Davis. This is a good angle for it, and he wants that fastball up and in. Let's see if Lancaster gets it there.
This one fouled back over the screen. So the count holds at 1-2 strikes. Stubbs, 26 years old. Stubbs and Guerrero may be 2 hitters in the Dodger lineup. Here's the 1-2. He's called out on strikes this time. Lancaster got him looking. I was going to say these 2 fellas, Stubbs and Guerrero, maybe a couple hitters who don't spend a lot of time talking with Manny Mota, who basically wants everybody to hit the ball the other way, up the middle. And even though Stubbs is a big strikeout man, the Dodgers are willing to take a certain number of strikeouts to get the power he offers. There's Manny Mota, one of the premier hitting instructors. Here's Steve Sachs, and this one is a strike call. Sachs is 2 for 2 tonight. Earlier this year had gone through a 2 for 29 string. And he shoots this one into center field. Dernier is there for this one and makes the catch. 3 up, 3 down go the Dodgers for the first time tonight. At the end of 5-0 LA. On to the 6th inning at Dodger Stadium. 5-0, and the Cubs here in the 6th facing Rick Honeycutt will have the top of the batting order coming up. Dernier, Sandberg, and then Dawson. Tomorrow night, Rick Sutcliffe will get the start for the Cubs. He'll be opposed by Alejandro Pena.
What do you think, Dwayne? Any chance of seeing a bunt? Just one bunt. I'm not asking.
It'd be nice. It would be nice. So far tonight, Dernier nothing out of 2. Grounded to third and grounded out to the shortstop. Madlock's going to set up on the edge of the infield grass here. There he is. You'd like to challenge him, though, with that weak shoulder. He had arthroscopic shoulder surgery on the 10th of April. And the pitch is in for a strike.
Get well wishes to Bill Moran, recuperating in Evanston Hospital.
Honeycutt delivers, and this one down and in. 1 ball, 1 strike. Honeycutt has walked 1 man tonight. A first inning pass to Sandberg. So in just under 32 innings this year, Honeycutt has walked only 6 hitters. And one of the passes an intentional walk. Tapped by the mound. Sachs up with it. Quick throw to first in time, says Eric Gregg. Ball not hit very hard, and Sachs had to get rid of it in a hurry.
There was a time when Steve Sachs could not make this throw, but those days are over. He does get the ball away quickly. He knows Bobby Dernier can run. Pours it over to first base. And it's close, but the throw barely beats him. The call by Eric Gregg.
Here's Ryne Sandberg. Rano back in the number 2 spot here with Gene Michaels stacking the lineup with right-handed hitters against Honeycutt. Cubs have just 4 decisions against left-handers this year and have gone 2-2. Sandberg went around, says Eric Gregg. Strike 1. And Honeycutt, there are some who say that Honeycutt may be as effective against right-handed hitters as left-handed hitters.
Especially if they keep trying to pull the ball.
Here's the 0-1 pitch. This one fouled off Dick Stello's foot. 2 strikes the count. One out. Sandberg at the plate with Andre Dawson on deck. It's Stello who has to walk this one off.
And he didn't like that ball. He tossed it away with disdain because it came up and bit him. You can see right there in the left foot.
And Sandberg is out on strikes. That pitch bit down and in.
Right fielder.
3 strikeouts for Honeycutt. Here's Andre Dawson. You know, Honeycutt, as we've talked earlier, when the Dodgers were in Chicago, was caught a few years ago with a tack in his glove. Since then, you haven't heard much about it, but you can't help but wonder if he's not up to something out there.
Those balls sinking pretty well.
Well, particularly when all of a sudden his strikeout total starts to increase the way it has. Dawson fouls this one, strike 1. Just a passing thought.
Well, I'm sure if John Vukovich and Jim Snyder see him scuffing the baseball, they're going to inquire of home plate umpire Dick Stello. But after watching him, you really don't pick up anything where he might be doing something to the ball.
But that's the way it always is.
It was Jim Fry who discovered that tack.
That's right. The 0-1 pitch. This one fouled, and the count is 0-2.
That's been the secret for Honeycutt tonight. You look up at the board, it's always 0-2 or 1-2. Then he just sinks that ball away from the right-handers, gets a ground ball. Throws a lot like Tommy John used to. He's not going to throw you a real hittable strike, especially if you keep swinging at balls down out of the zone. And you look at those numbers, very impressive for Rick Honeycutt.
Dawson did not go. Eric Gregg would not give that one to the Dodgers, and the count is 1-2.
Wouldn't be surprised if he came low and in with that slider once again. Let's watch the appeal play.
There it is.
Looks like Andre might have gone around, but Eric Gregg says no, he didn't.
And the count is 1-2. There's a foul ball back. Eric's one of the more delightful people to talk with. When he gets going, it's almost as if he's on his way to a fire. It's rapid succession. He's got a lot to say in just a short period of time to say it, and he tries to get it all in. There's a shot by third, foul, and the count is still a ball and 2 strikes. Makes you kind of wonder when a manager or player gets into a heated conversation with Eric. You'd like to have a tape to see what's actually going on and who's speaking faster, because generally an irate manager has a lot on his mind and wants to get it out in a hurry, and Eric just normally speaks that way. Foul ball off Dawson's foot.
Anytime a left-hander throws a slider to a right-hander, there's a real good chance he's going to foul it off his foot. You get the head of the bat out quickly. It's a slower pitch than the fastball, and you hit it off that instep, and that is painful.
So he had Stello hopping around a moment ago, and now Andre Dawson. John Fierro, the Cubs trainer, will take a look at him. Must have been that knee. Fierro taking a look at that right knee.
I like when they grab it and they say, does it hurt here? Right where you got hit by the ball. Yeah, John, it does hurt there, and if you'd stop squeezing it, it probably hurt a lot less.
As Andre was hit by a pitch, you'll recall earlier but he was hit on the left knee. This time apparently fouled it off that right knee. But he has shown no effects of having any kind of knee problems with the way he is maneuvered in the outfield and on the bases.
I think that's all you heard about Andre Dawson when he was up in Montreal, was how bad his knees were. And then you look back through his history, he's only been disabled one time, and that was because of a hamstring. So he goes out there most every day. And now that he's not on AstroTurf, he's going to save his legs a lot of wear and tear.
1 ball, 2 strikes the count. And he pops it up, foul ball. That's going to be out of play. Scioscia gives it a chase, but the count is still 1-2.
I was facing a left-hand hitter who used to foul the ball off his instep. I'd like to throw another pitch down in there and see if he could do it again. Let's see what Mike Scioscia calls. There's Andre still feeling the effects of that. You get a man foul a couple balls off his foot, and he's not going to run to first too quickly. Rick Honeycutt doing an outstanding job tonight. No tack in evidence.
Another foul ball. So Dawson making Honeycutt work out there.
And he got the slider low and in again. There you look at Bill Russell along with Tommy Lasorda, the skipper for the Cubs, Gene Michael. Seen his club go 4-2 on the Western swing. And still some tough games coming up. 3 in the Astrodome and another game here tomorrow night.
The 1-2, and he shoots this one foul off to the right. So that's 6 foul balls with 2 strikes. It's 1-2 overall now to Andre Dawson. Andre was hit on the left knee back at Wrigley Field, hit by Fernando Valenzuela. That was on the 4th of this month, that Monday game, won by the Cubs 5-4. There's a high popper, foul ball. Madlock over there, and will not have a play. So if nothing else, Dawson is increasing Honeycutt's pitch count.
He's increasing the souvenirs around the ballpark. I don't know if Rick likes that one. He's giving it back to Mike Scioscia. Apparently the ball too big. They say they're all the same, but because they're hand sewn, some are a little bigger. The seams are raised on some, depending on what pitch you want to throw. If I was throwing a curveball, I always like the high raised seams. A fastball, I'd like to see the ball and the seams as flat as possible. So for some reason, he likes the one he's got now, and he'll probably try to get him on a breaking ball or that little sinker away.
The 1-2 again, down and in. This time the count goes to 2 balls, 2 strikes. Dernier grounded out second to first. Sandberg struck out swinging. The 2-2. A swing and a miss, and the ball gets away from Scioscia. Dawson's going to reach. So he struck him out. But as the ball got by the Dodger catcher, Dawson moves into first. We'll take another look.
Another slider low and in.
Jody Davis.
Andre completely fooled. And you see Scioscia, he tries to stop this ball with his glove. He doesn't shift his weight and keep the ball in front of him. That's a wild pitch, but a mistake by Scioscia. He could have blocked that ball. He just gave it a swipe with the glove. And most catchers are taught to move out on your shin guards, get your body in front of that ball, and he would have been able to throw out Dawson at first base.
Third wild pitch of the year charged to Rick Honeycutt, and it gives Jody Davis an opportunity to swing the bat. Jody lifetime against Honeycutt over 300. There's Andre at first along with Jim Snyder, Eric Gregg in the background. So the Cubs have a base runner, only the 4th of the night. And here's Jody Davis. He singled in the 4th inning. And the pitch in there for a strike. Well, Honeycutt has changed speeds. Overall has had excellent control. Following the '85 season, he had surgery and that shaved the tip of the clavicle on his left shoulder. And has pitched well for the Dodgers since. And out in front of Jody Davis, 0-2.
I asked Tommy Lasorda who was the best pitcher he ever managed, and he's managed some good ones, and he's got one here right now who's a good one, Fernando Valenzuela. But he goes back and says Don Sutton was the best pitcher that he ever managed because he was like a great poker player. He could win with a bad hand. He said he'd go out there with less than his best stuff and always give you a good effort and always take the ball.
A swing and a miss. Jody's out on strikes, and that retires the side. No runs, no hits, no errors, a wild pitch and one left. Bottom of the 6th coming up. 5-0 LA. As a reminder to join the Cubs on June 11th at Wrigley Field for the annual Cubs Care benefit fun-filled event. Tickets are $100 each, and the proceeds benefit cancer programs at Northwestern Memorial Hospital and Cubs Care Charities. For information, call 908-7430. That's 908-7430. June 11th is the date for the Cubs Care event this year.
Leading off for the
Cubs have hit 45 home runs this year, and if you're playing the Pepsi-Cola Chicago Cubs home run countdown game, remember that number, 45. Could be one of the biggest years in the history of that game, with the Cubs hitting home runs in bunches.
They're on a pace to hit well over 200 right now. Looking at Les Lancaster, and Mike Ramsey steps in, waves at the first one, strike one. Ramsey has a pair of hits tonight. He's a natural right-handed hitter. Switch hitting. He loops one off to the left. 2 strikes the count on him.
He's really at the point of his career as far as switch hitting is concerned, where you can just about knock the bat out of his hands. He reminds me of Ozzie Smith in the early days. When Ozzie used to come to bat, he couldn't handle the fastball in on his hands. He wasn't strong enough. And if Lancaster gets one in there, he'll get him.
And there is strike 3 call. So Lancaster picks up a strikeout here to start the bottom of the 6th, and that will bring up the Los Angeles pitcher, Rick Honeycutt. Lancaster, the 3rd Cub pitcher.
Rick Honeycutt.
Here's Honeycutt. He singled his last time up. One out of 2 tonight. And he looks at a strike. 1 out of 9 for the year, Honeycutt. Honeycutt, born in Chattanooga, went to the University of Tennessee. Lancaster delivers strike 2. Les came on, retired the Dodgers in order in the 5th inning, and struck out Ramsey. Misses to Honeycutt. Top of the order, Mariano Duncan will be next. There's a pitch away for ball 2, 2-1. Lynch for 2 2/3. He was charged with 5 runs on 8 hits. And there's a liner into center that will drop for a base hit. That's the 11th Dodger hit of the ball game.
Shortstop, Mariano Duncan.
A 1-out single into center. Second hit for Honeycutt tonight. Now we go to the top of the batting order, Mariano Duncan.
Last time Rick Honeycutt got 2 hits in a game was back in 1985, September. So he's not used to being on the bases all that often.
Duncan has been on base twice tonight. 2 for 3 with a pair of runs batted in. There's Honeycutt over at first. And the pitch is inside, ball 1. Just in case you have not heard, Dwight Gooden threw 3 innings for Tidewater against the Richmond Braves. Did not allow a run. This pitch is too low. It's 2-0. Les Lancaster, in his first appearance with the Cubs, just joining the ball club today. First appearance since the 23rd of April against the Cardinals.
Well, Larry
It's
Bowa's
2-1 now.
How about Larry Bowa's team? They got
Wow.
Defeated 12-5 by Pittsburgh. Rick Russell picking up his second win.
There's a fly ball back into right field. Dawson playing shallow, backs up a few steps and makes the catch for the out. Andy Hawkins, the losing pitcher for San Diego. We talked about it last night. The Reds apparently had expressed some interest in him. He's now 0-5.
Well, they might be willing to part with him with those kind of numbers. The Reds figure that they got a lot more offense in San Diego, and they'd like to have one of three of the San Diego pitchers, Eric Shaw, perhaps Ed Whitson, or Andy Hawkins. Shaw probably the most dependable of those three.
Ken Landreau, and uh-oh, boy, did he hit that ball. Home run, Ken Landreau. Landreau hit one out last night in the ninth inning off Scott Sanderson, and he just hit a tee shot right there. Two-run home run for Landreau to make it 7-0 Los Angeles.
Second home run of the year, fifth RBI. 3 for 4 for Kenny Landreau. And Les Lancaster tipped off the changeup. He slowed down his motion. He didn't fool Landreau at all, and it cost him. Take another look at it. The whole motion slowed down the off-speed curve, and Landreau just waiting for it, and he knows he got it all.
Seven nothing now, and the Dodgers have 12 hits. That brings up Bill Madlock.
The two games the Cubs have lost on this road trip, they've been blown out, and they're heading that way right here.
Ground ball down the left side, strike one. Well, Landreau is now 3 out of 4. He has a 5-game hitting string and is 8 out of 15 during that stretch. There's a fly ball back toward the line and right. A long run for Dawson, and that ball is foul. Fortunately for the Cubs, foul. Strike 2 to Madlock.
From a Cubs standpoint, this is like watching paint dry. The offense has done absolutely nothing with Rick Honeycutt. They've been out hit 12-2, trail 7-0. And when a pitcher is putting a performance on you like this, nothing seems to work right.
Lancaster back in, and there's a fly ball into center. Junior's there. He makes the catch, and that retires the side. But the Dodgers pick up 2 more on a couple hits. The home run by Landreau, the big one. And at the end of 6, 7-0 Dodgers.
For the Dodgers, now playing
Steve
third
Stone
base.
back along with good luck charm Joe Torre.
You guys aren't going to invite me back, are you?
No, and how about 3 managers in the booth on the other side? Did you guys get anything accomplished over there?
We never did a bit of play-by-play. It was all strategy, and it didn't work.
Not much strategy when the pitcher is doing the job as Rick Honeycutt is doing tonight.
He really is. He's moving the and one thing, Steve, that I find interesting how he's getting them to swing at balls in the dirt on the inside part of the plate, and very few left-handers will pitch inside to right-handers.
There you look at Tracy Woodson. He's taken over at third base. And the reason why he's able to get him to swing at bad pitches, Joe, is he's been ahead all night, and you have to protect the plate. They won't swing at the ball if they're behind.
And that he has had the magic formula with no complete games since 1985, but he is really coasting along right here. And Bull Durham, strike 1. Stay ahead. It makes it a lot easier to pitch and a lot tougher to hit. Durham 0 for 2 tonight with a strikeout and fly out to Landreau. 1 ball, 1 strike.
I keep going back to the biography of Sandy Koufax, and he said the best pitch in baseball was strike 1. And it doesn't matter which one it is, fastball, curveball, slider, or change. Just get the first pitch over, and it sets up a different at-bat because a hitter now has to hit defensively instead of offensively. You fall behind 2-0, you've got a lot of trouble.
Oh, without a doubt. Breaking ball. Durham couldn't get it. It's been all Dodgers tonight. Dodgers with 7 runs on 12 hits and no errors. Cubs no runs on just 2 singles and 1 error. Outfield playing straight away, infield the same. Count evens at 2. 2-2. Got something there, Stevie?
Well, this is time to start reading a couple notes. Ed
Sure.
Kelly and his wife Patty here at the game today. I want to say hello to everybody at the Piano Man by Wrigley Field.
Breaking ball misses outside. Count goes full, 3-2. We're in the 7th inning. Keith Moreland on deck, followed by Brian Dayette. Line drive to right center field. Ramsey over, makes the catch. 1 up, 1 down here in the 7th inning. Ball was hit hard,
Keith Moreland.
but Mike Ramsey was right there. Keith Moreland, who has been thrown out twice by Duncan and made an error back in the 3rd inning, has really been struggling. However, I think when it's all said and done, you're going to pick up that press guide and the start of the '88 season, you're going to see Keith hitting just where he was supposed to hit. It takes a full 6 months to get through a baseball season. Line drive, base hit to left field. Moreland on the board with the 3rd hit for the Cubs here in the 7th.
Joe, I know you went into more than a couple slumps during the course of your career, but when you got in one like Keith Moreland and Sean Dunston, what'd you try to do to get out of it?
Well, what I used to try to do when I used to go in slump, Steve, I had a problem. They used to pitch me inside, and I used to become inside conscious. What I tried to do was get away from the plate and sort of give them the outside corner. If a pitcher was good enough to pick the outside corner on me, I'd let him have it, and I'd try to start hitting the ball through the middle. It made me watch the ball, and as I felt a little more comfortable, I moved closer and closer to the plate until I got in a position where I knew I was quick. Brian Dayette singled his last time up. 1 for 2 tonight. Breaking ball, fouled off.
You know, you see different athletes building themselves up for different sports, but the one recurrent thing I've seen amongst all great hitters is very strong hands, wrists, and forearms. It seems like some have big biceps, some not so big, but the hands and wrists always very strong amongst the great hitters.
Well, to me, the hands are so very important. They say, you know, you got to step, you got to turn and whatever, and there's a strong young man at first base. Strike 2 again. Rick Honeycutt ahead in the count. Dayette wasn't too sure about that pitch.
Well, if you're throwing strikes, you're going to get the benefit of the doubt. Dick Stello behind the plate. Honeycutt's been throwing strikes all night. He's only walked 1, that coming in the 1st inning. Other than that, he's been ahead of the count consistently, and you'll get a break when you can keep the ball around the zone.
And the pitch stays outside and down. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And I felt that the hands were so quick. They're holding the weapon. And if you can wait as long as you can and be quick with the hands, that was the most important ingredient as far as hitting. There you go. Have some fun. Go ahead. 7-0's a great way to be.
Mickey Hatcher.
And that shouldn't surprise you. Swung on and missed. Honeycutt records his 6th strikeout. And the Dodgers, with good pitching and a 7-run lead, seem to be very comfortable. I think they're going to have to be reckoned with in the Western Division. Cincinnati, their pitching might be a little suspect. They brought Jerry Royce up to pitch, and he got cuffed around a little bit tonight. And, you know, they're a ball club with fine young players, probably the most talented young player in the game right now with Eric Davis.
And I think they have to go out and get some more pitching. They've been looking at Dan Petrie of the Detroit Tigers, and after the job that Jerry Royce did, leaving the game in the 2nd inning, I think they're going to be hungrier than ever for another starter.
Dunston takes a strike.
You know, teams hold out. They're not going to give Cincinnati a player. They figure if Cincinnati gets desperate, they're going to sweeten the pot some. Before they give them a pitcher, they're going to make sure that they extract a couple of those young stars in the Cincinnati system.
Well, you know, that reminds me of this young man here, Honeycutt, on the mound. We tried to get him back in 1983 when the Dodgers got him. And once the Dodgers got him in the trade, Ted Turner says, we need to get a pitcher because we're fighting with the Dodgers for the pennant. And we wind up overpaying for Barker and gave up a Jacoby and a Brook and a Butler. Forced play, that's it. So for the Cubs, no runs, a hit, 1 man left. They've stranded 5, and at the end of 6.5, it's the Dodgers 7, the Cubs nothing.
Time now for the traditional 7th inning
Steve Stone back along with Joe Torre. Andre Dawson left the ball game with a bruised right knee. Chico Walker takes over in left field. Brian Dayette shifts over to right. And Pedro Guerrero leading off the bottom of the 7th.
And swings and fouls it off. Strike one. Pedro with an RBI sacrifice fly in the first inning. Hit into a force play and struck out.
So not real good news for the Cubs. Andre Dawson with that sore knee. He fouled a ball off the knee. He's on a day-to-day basis.
I have a feeling he'll be back tomorrow.
I would tend to agree with you.
Again, changeup. Nice play by Dunston. Throws out Guerrero. You take a look right there. He slowed down his motion again. You were telling me that on the base hits you felt he was slowing down his motion. He did that right on that pitch.
Well, I think Les Lancaster is going to have to work on that. You know, anytime you throw a changeup, you tip it off to the hitter if you slow your motion down, and he does just that. Now, Guerrero hit this ball right on the nose. Even though he grounded out, he wasn't fooled. And that's how Landreau hit the home run, and that's how Rick Honeycutt got his base hit in the 6th inning. You've got to keep your arm motion the same. Any deviation, the hitter picks it up, he keeps his weight back, and the ball comes in like a balloon.
Mike Scioscia with a base hit and a run scored in the 3rd inning. 1 for 2. Good look at Les Lancaster. Evens the count at 1-1. It's been all Dodgers tonight. You promise you won't hold this against me, right, tonight?
No, this is absolutely all your fault. You know,
Maybe
we've been looking for somebody to blame it on, and
maybe I should have
guy.
sang "Take Me Out to the Ball Game." On the ground to Dunston, charging the ball, and retires Scioscia.
Who was the best hitter you ever managed?
I'd have to say the best player I ever managed was probably Murphy, without a doubt. The best hitter, that's tough. Mazzilli did a pretty good job in New York for that year or so, but I think the guy who had the best potential hitter-wise on my club was Bob Horner.
But as a pure hitter, how come Bob Horner never really attained the status that you'd expect, because he was so quick inside and so strong?
So quick and so selective and had a real short swing, but I don't know. I don't know the answer to that, Steve. Franklin Stubbs fouls the pitch back. Strike one.
You know, they gave him a teddy bear. I saw when he hit 3 home runs in a game in Japan, and he now has 6. He crossed home plate. The bat boy gave him a little teddy bear to take back with him.
I hope it's better if they give him teddy bears as opposed to Hershey or something, you know, because if he has the chocolate there, he might get in trouble. Because I know when we played in Japan, when I was with the Mets in '74, they used to give you candy bars all the time. That would spell the end for Bob Horner. Ball lifts in the air down the right field line. Dayette going over to the line, makes the play. So it's 3 up and 3 down here in the 7th inning for the Dodgers. And as we go to the top half of the 8th inning, score remains Dodgers 7, Cubs nothing.
Ladies and
Steve Stone back along with Joe Torre. The parade has started here. The Dodger faithful figuring this one's well in hand, starting to pour out of the ballpark. And Reggie Williams has taken over defensively in left field. There you take a look at Reggie. Pedro Guerrero leaving the game. And the Cubs have not been able to do anything with Rick Honeycutt. He's handcuffed them on 3 hits. The only error of the ball game belongs to the Cubs. Keith Moreland throwing one away, and Manny Trio to lead off.
Manny Trio will be hitting for Les Lancaster here in the 8th inning. And the Cubs are going to see if they can just try to mount some kind of an offensive attack. They've had 3 hits. They've been spaced out. A single by Davis in the 4th, single by Dayette in the 5th, and a single off Moreland's bat in the 7th. And here we are in the top half of the 8th inning. And Rick Honeycutt just seems to have everything going his way. And he hasn't really thrown a whole lot of pitches either, Steve.
No, he's been very consistent. You don't expect him to overpower you, but for some reason, the last 3 times out, he's racked up a lot of strikeouts. So the ball must be moving. He's shown excellent control tonight.
And Trio looking to take a strike, does. 1 ball, 1 strike. Boy, there's our man tomorrow. I hope he has better luck than I did. Boy, he is over the edge. Just make sure you tie him down in here.
Aptly named Book.
Swung on and missed. 1 ball, 2 strikes. And invariably, every time you look up at the scoreboard, It's 1 ball, 2 strikes, or no balls, 2 strikes, and makes pitching a lot easier. Bobby Denier waiting on deck. Just misses down. Scioscia thought he might have had a strike.
One of the reasons why Tommy Lasorda feels Mike Scioscia so valuable to the club is that he's a thinking man's catcher. He really knows how to call a game. He really knows how to set up hitters, and he says he's got a great memory. He remembers what the hitters did the last time he saw him, even if it was 2 weeks ago in a different series.
Breaking ball popped off to the right side. Stubbs over in foul territory, makes the play. 1 man out, 8th inning. That'll bring up Bobby Denier, who has not gotten the ball out of the infield tonight.
All night long, I've been looking for that bunt from Bobby Denier with Bill Madlock at third base. He didn't do it. Now Tracy Woodson is over there. Much better arm than Bill Madlock.
What do you think?
I'd like to see him lay it down. The Cubs need some base runners. Woodson even with a bag, but Bobby will probably be swinging away.
And he is. Wasn't even taking a strike. Well, you don't have to take a strike late in the game when a pitcher has been throwing strike 1, strike 2 to you. Because sometimes a manager will tell his players, go ahead and take a strike, but with the kind of control that Honeycutt has had tonight, you might as well try to jump on that first one. Has he been told maybe to bunt maybe once a game, or asked to? There it is. Down on, and they're going to let it roll, and it's going to stay fair. Boy, he read your mind. I'll tell you that there, Stone. You're really brilliant.
Well, they finally get one down, and they get a base hit. They could have been doing this all night to Rick Honeycutt. You know, with a left-hander on the mound, he's not going to make this play. It's up to the third baseman. And even though Woodson has a better arm than Madlock, you can see he's completely fooled. He can't do anything this one except put it in his pocket.
I'll tell you, that is a shame. If you can handle the bat like that and bunt like that and not take advantage of picking up, you know, a dozen base hits or so where you can get your average to a point where you could be a real benefit to the ball club.
Well, you can see over the course of a year what just 15 hits would mean to your average. You're talking about another 20 or 25 points. That takes you from a mediocre season to a very good season.
Franklin Stubbs playing behind, and there goes Denier, and they're going to let him steal it.
Kind of an unusual situation here.
Well,
Bobby Denier stealing a base, but you want to stay out of the double play, keep the inning alive, and Rick Honeycutt was paying no attention to him.
They're giving it to you, so you might as well take it. I believe in that. That's Denier's 3rd stolen base. And Sandberg just let him go as he took a strike. Sandberg 0 for 2 with a walk. One ball, 1 strike.
I have to be concerned with the stamina of Rick Honeycutt. We've talked about his lack of complete games going back to 1985. This is his 6th start. He hasn't come close to a complete game this year, although he's thrown the ball very well in spots. And last year, Honeycutt had 28 starts without a complete game. So I know it's on the mind of Tommy Lasorda. But boy, he has a hard time going to that bullpen because there's nobody out there you would even consider to be a consistent stopper.
Well, with a 7-run lead, I'm sure he's going to give Honeycutt every opportunity to finish this one. Sandberg takes a pitch away. 2 balls, 1 strike. Denier at second base. Let's look at this thing. That's the first base runner that has reached second base for the Cubs tonight. So you don't think it's been all pitcher tonight. Stays away from Sandberg, but goes 3-1.
I got to figure if he comes in, Joe, he's going to lose his shutout right here to Sandberg. I think Rhino has seen him enough. Hasn't done much with him, 0 for 2, but he's hit him very well in the past, and he knows right now he's got a tiring pitcher. Rhino, a very good mistake hitter. In fact, one of the better mistake hitters on the ball club, especially when he's ahead of the pitcher.
That's where you earn your money. You don't miss the opportunity. 3-1, 2-0. Let's see if he's swinging. And swinging he is down the left field line, going back. Reggie Williams, did he catch it? He caught it. What a catch by Reggie Williams. And Denier scuffles back to second base. He took a home run away from Ryan Sandberg. And I'm not too sure if Pedro Guerrero would have made that play.
A great play by Reggie Williams. Honeycutt almost did lose the shutout. Reggie Williams has to go in the first row to haul this one down. The fans anticipating that souvenir, even though it's coming off a Cub bat. But look at Reggie Williams. Great effort. Watch it one more time. Painful experience for the little lady in the front row, but a great catch by Reggie Williams.
That's the price of being on TV.
Chico Walker.
She's going to be a little sore in the morning. I'm sorry, he said. Just tipped his hat to the young lady. But that's my job. Chico Walker is taking over for Andre Dawson. You look at Bobby Denier at second base. And Honeycutt falls behind, 1 ball, no strikes.
Chico has not had the opportunity to hit right-handed much this year. Mostly on the platoon system, he's asked to hit left-handed, where he's a little better hitter. There you look at the numbers.
One ball, 1 strike. And he's been 1 for 9 right-handed and 3 strikeouts. Hitting 186 overall.
Larry St. John family, formerly of West Chicago, Illinois, here tonight.
Lifted in the air to center field. Be an easy play for Ramsey. And that'll do it in the 8th for the Cubs. No runs, 1 hit. No errors, a man left. They've stranded 6. And as we go to the bottom half of the 8th inning, the Dodgers 7, the Cubs nothing.
Steve Stone back along with Joe Torre. We head in the bottom of the 8th inning, and the Cubs are going to send their 4th pitcher to the mound, and that's Ron Davis. Doesn't have a record this year, but he does have a 3.38 ERA, making his 6th appearance. He's pitched 8 innings, given up 10 hits and 3 earned runs. Hasn't given up the long ball yet. He's walked 6. He's struck out 6.
And Lancaster was in there 3 innings, gave up 2 hits, 2 runs, didn't walk anybody, and struck out 2.
And a look around the National League. Pittsburgh defeated San Diego 12-5. Rick Russell picking up his 2nd win. Andy Hawkins moving to 0-5. New York Mets defeated Cincinnati 6-2. Dave Cohn picked up his 1st National League win. He's now 1-2. Jerry Royce picked up the loss. Atlanta beat Montreal 5-2. Smith over Dedman.
No, that can't be.
Over
Heredia.
Steve Sachs.
That's a new one.
And then Houston defeated Philadelphia 5-2. Nepper over Jackson. Partial score, St. Louis beating up on San Francisco 4-1 behind Joe McGrain, who's already 2-0.
Steve Sachs against Ron Davis. Takes a strike. Sachs 2 for 3 with 2 runs scored tonight. Steve Sachs, before it's all over, will be back up in this batting order, I'm sure, Steve. Ball fouled off to the right.
Well, he's a good hitter, and he had such a great year last year when he got off to a slow start, and the team got off to an 0-5 start. Tommy Lasorda decided to do some juggling. Since that 0-5 start, this Dodger ball club is 18-10 in their last 28 games. So they're starting to play good, solid baseball. They've got a good enough offense. They're a liability defensively. But with their starting staff, they have to be a contender in the West this year.
Well, it's interesting, you know, after being in with the American League club, the Angels, is my 3rd year. You're used to seeing the DH, and it really doesn't matter where you hit because there's no pitcher. Brian Downing leading off and getting all the RBIs. You know, he wouldn't be getting those RBIs without the designated hitter.
Also, a lot less strategy in the game. You don't have to maneuver your bullpen. You don't have to use your pinch hitters quite as judiciously.
Yeah, I don't like it. I mean, I like the way the game was supposed to be, and that's with a pitcher hitting, even though they don't do that very often, although Rick Honeycutt did tonight.
Well, you're a National League man. You spent a lot of years playing over here and a lot of years managing over in the National League. there's no doubt it's a more intricate game. A lot more happens, and if you manage at home like we all do, you can make a lot more decisions.
Sure. On the ground, Durham take it himself.
And I'll tell you what, credit Steve Sachs with hustling down the line. It's a 7-0 game. We're in the bottom of the 8th, and he almost beat Leon Durham to the bag, and you got to love to see this. Steve Sachs, an obvious out. Now watch Leon. He's got to hustle. He just barely beats him at first base.
And you have to believe maybe Leon thought that Sachs wouldn't be running that hard when he went up to stop Ron Davis. Mike Ramsey with 2 hits and 2 runs scored. Strikeout victim in the 6th.
And we'll take a look at the American League. The New York Yankees defeated the White Sox 5-4. Cecilio Guante picking up the win over Bobby Thigpen. Boston stopped Seattle momentarily. The Mariners were tied for first place. Pretty big surprise for Dick Williams. Sellers over Trujillo. Baltimore defeated Minnesota 10-7. Kansas City defeated Toronto 3-1. Texas over Cleveland 6-1. Detroit murdered California. Sorry, Joe, 15-2.
See, I didn't do very well if I was there either.
And Oakland once again beating Milwaukee. Milwaukee fading into the sunset. 7 losses in a row for the Brewers. Oakland won 10-8.
1 ball, no strikes on Mike Ramsey. He takes a strike. Ron Davis. 1 ball, 1 strike. I was really pulling against Milwaukee because I managed the Braves when we had won 13 in a row in '82. Swung on and missed. Count goes to 1-2.
Where'd you guys finish that year?
We've won. We won the division by a game, but we only won 89 ball games. And 89 ball games not going to win the Eastern Division in the American League.
Nor will it win the West in the National League.
That's for sure. You know what's interesting about the way the Cubs have been playing? All the experts, as we quote-unquote experts, they had the Mets and the Cardinals and Philadelphia once they got Parrish, and the Cubs were bunched with Pittsburgh and Montreal. But the Cubs have, they have some ability. And, of course, the question mark with the way Sutcliffe had been injured the last couple of years, and now he seems to be healthy again. Swung on and missed.
I think in all fairness to the guys who were prognosticating, most of them made their picks before Andre Dawson dropped into the lap of the Cubs. And he really turned the whole club around. This was a team that looked like it was ticketed for 4th or 5th place. Looked like it had some punch, but maybe not enough to compensate for the pitching staff. Now all of a sudden Andre comes over. He's hit 11 home runs, knocked in 33 runs, has 5 game-winning RBIs, 4 game-tying RBIs. And when you look at what the Cubs have done, you can pretty much look at Andre Dawson and say he's made the big difference.
And another ball hit hard, but Sandberg is there and retires Honeycutt. So in the bottom of the 8th, it's nothing across for the Dodgers. And as we go to the top half of the 9th inning, the Dodgers are leading 7-0.
Steve Stone back along with Joe Torre. There we look at the Cubs bat boy and understand, Joe, that he has a special place in your heart.
That's my godson, Michael Borzello. Unfortunately, he won't be asked back either.
A one-shot deal for him?
One-shot deal. I mean, 7-0. What are you going to do, Mike? Although he was the bat boy last night, too, so that's not too bad.
Dave Anderson has taken over at shortstop. Rick Honeycutt still on the mound, and for the Cubs, 3 chances to get back at Rick Honeycutt. He shut him out on 4 hits. And Jody Davis steps up to lead it off. He's 1 for 3, singled in the 4th inning. The other hits belong to Bobby Dernier, a bunt single in the 8th. Keith Moreland, a solid single in the 7th, and Brian Dayette, a bloop single in the 5th. They have not done much with Rick Honeycutt. Honeycutt out of Chattanooga, Tennessee, now lives in La Habra Heights, California. 11-9 last year for the Dodgers, looking for his first complete game since 1985. And he throws one off the corner to Jody Davis. 1-0. Leon Durham on deck. That evens the count at 1-1.
And sometimes when a sinker ball pitcher gets a little tired, as you're looking at a very comfortable Tommy Lasorda, it makes it a little more effective. He's been around the knees all night. One and 2
count on Davis. You keep going back to the style of Tommy John. He's thrown so many innings over the years, and when he does start to tire, he becomes more effective, getting more ground balls because the ball sinks more as it loses velocity. High bounder. Tough play. They got to let it bounce. And they do. And it goes foul. Well, Jody's not going to leg too many of them out. But he would have beaten out that one. He reminds me a little of you. You didn't get too many leg hits in the course of your career.
No, unless I hit it off somebody's leg. That was the only way I'd do it. No, why does it have to be foul?
Long night for Jody Davis. He's caught a lot of pitches tonight from 4 different Cub pitchers.
And you know Eric is agitating him. Hurry up back there, he's saying to him.
We're heading on to the 3-hour mark in this one. Rick Honeycutt has gone all the way. Eddie Lynch started for the Cubs. And Eddie had a tough night of it. He went just 2 2/3 innings, gave up 5 runs on 8 hits. He walked 1, struck out 2. Frank DePino came on, threw an inning in the 3rd. Les Lancaster threw 3 innings, gave up 2 hits and 2 runs. He threw pretty well, except for the home run to Kenny Landreau. Long drive, well hit to left field, but curving, just foul. Reggie Williams looks like he can play some left field.
He gets in position.
And Jody's going to be a tired young man when this is over.
He's tired from catching first.
Do you think you could have compiled the statistics you compiled if you had stayed behind the plate all those years?
Probably not. Just that those couple of years I had in St. Louis where I became a first baseman and a third baseman, where you really have a chance to concentrate more on your hitting when you're playing third or playing first, as opposed to being behind the plate. And the way I caught, you know, I took a lot of pride in it and wanted to lead the pitcher and things that really drained you mentally, not physically, but mentally.
Fouled off once again. Well, how about in Atlanta? You know, just wearing the gear and going through the hot summer days, you got to lose about 5 to 10 pounds over the course of a season. That just can't help but wear you down.
The most I ever lost as a catcher, I caught a doubleheader at Wrigley Field, and it was one of those summer muggy days, and I lost 15 pounds in the doubleheader. In fact, I got to the point where I went to catch a pop-up and I just started spinning. I wind up falling by Ken Reitz, who caught the pop-up.
That runs the count full to Jody Davis. Well, if you can lose 15 pounds, maybe I'll just go behind the plate in batting practice as things start to warm up in Wrigley Field. I started out as a catcher. But I got very smart around 10 years old and took the gear off, and that was it. Too many foul tips off my shoulders and fingers and legs. That's not enjoyable.
They call it tools of ignorance.
Well hit to right field. Kenny Landreau on the run, curving away from him, and it just drops away.
It looked like Landreau might have been able to catch that ball, but wouldn't have been able to cushion himself from going into that fence. It looked like he just changed his mind the last minute. We'll take a look here. It looks like he starts reaching and then realizes how close he is. Oops.
Well, 7-0. Discretion being the better part of valor. You live to fight another day, and Kenny Landreau probably wants Rick Honeycutt to get a little more work. Bullpen busy for the Dodgers. Ken Howell, the right-hander. Matt Young, the left-hander. And Tommy Lasorda hoping he doesn't have to go to him. Outfield straightaway, very deep for Jody. And he pops it up. Franklin Stubbs moving over. He'll have a shot at this one. And he makes the catch for out number 1. Cubs with 2 chances left, and Leon Durham stepping up. Keith Moreland in the on-deck circle. Well, we haven't seen a whole lot of Rick Honeycutt, but I can't imagine that he's thrown too many better ball games than this over the course of his career. He had that one hot streak in the American League when he was 14-8 for the Texas Rangers in half season. Then he got traded to the Dodgers, and he threw some real good ball, a 2.42 ERA for the year. But he hasn't thrown all that well for the Dodgers since coming here. And he has had it all his way tonight.
Well, left-handers, you get left-hand pitchers, and they can get away with a lot more than right-handers can, because there are fewer of them. And what do they say about left-handers? They just, from that side, that the ball goes one way, and you just can't throw a ball straight. I know that.
Ball always tails away from the right-hand hitters, making it very tough to adjust. Left center field, well hit. But Reggie Williams coming over, and he makes the catch. So the Bull takes the 0 for 4 collar tonight. That'll bring up Keith Moreland, the only man standing in between Rick Honeycutt and his first shutout in over 2 years. Moreland 1 for 3 tonight. And 2 outs in the top of the 9th. Rick Sutcliffe against Alejandro Pena tomorrow, and the attendance tonight, 41,216 fans watching a masterpiece by Rick Honeycutt. Well, if you're a Cub fan, you might as well have seen a quilting bee this evening, because the offense didn't do a great deal.
Yeah, they could have done this with 1 bat tonight.
Line drive center field. Mike Ramsey right there, and that's it. Rick Honeycutt, a complete game shutout, and the Cubs go down to defeat as the Dodgers even up the series. Joe and I will be back with a wrap-up after these messages. Outstanding job by Rick Honeycutt tonight, a 4-hit shutout. And the final totals, 7 runs, 12 hits, no errors for the Dodgers, no runs, 4 hits, an error for the Cubs. Rick Honeycutt the winner. He's now 2-1. The loser, Eddie Lynch, he's now 1-3. It was a good ball game from a pitching standpoint. The Cubs trying to do it again tomorrow. They're 4-3 on the road trip. So we'll see you tomorrow night. That's it from Dodger Stadium.